Hello, hello. Welcome to another playthrough of this game. Uh, okay. So, last time I was at here, so I did all these events on the top, and now I can end the summer. So, I think after this, maybe we're done with our childhood. We'll see. Also, a friend told me about a little bit about the game yesterday, and apparently there is only one ending to this game. Um, but your choices still do matter. It affects different choices. Like you'll get other specific choices throughout the game from your past choices. So there are events that just pop up, but it doesn't give you like a significant ending. There's just one ending to this game, but I guess no bad ending, sadly. No bad ending, sadly for me, but yeah, it should all be like one good happy ending or something. Even if I seem disinterested, it should probably still have like a good ending. Whatever route I go, romantic or not. Move to the next step. Yeah, let's go. Okay.
I'll never get tired of the view.
You sit beside your moms and Lizzie as the four of you watch the sun dip into the ocean, somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow.
That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now.
Neither did I.
Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out of more.
You didn't do real magic, Mom.
How'd you figure that one out?
'Cause I know. That's not what real magic looks like.
Oh dear, Liz.
Oh dear, Lizzie, there's all kinds of magic in the world.
Lizzie gave Mom 2 a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan.
Mom, supper's almost over.
The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we play just a little longer? We have to keep playing before it's too late. It is almost over. You put on your best puppy dog eyes. Lizzie may not want to, but you planned on going home. Puppy eyes. Let's put that puppy eyes. They'll never say no to the puppy eyes.
Oh, don't look at me like that.
Like what? Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too.
Lizzie made her case, and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument.
Well? Oh, come on. Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner.
Mom too leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Alright. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood?
Yes, Mom. Yeah, Mom. To do so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet tines and trinkets. Oh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right?
Don't I get a say in this? You sadly made your own plans. We can go too far. I'm going home. We're gonna
Silently make our own plans.
Lizzie had her own ideas on what she wanted to do, but what were you going to do? A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Doesn't the wind know the summer's not over yet?
That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mother's had gone.
Where are you going?
I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow.
You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Wait, I thought we were gonna spend some time still outside. What the heck, Lizzie? Did you just change your mind? Lizzie didn't wait, and before long, she was disappearing off down the road. Okay, that was a waste for asking our moms to stay outside, I guess. You follow Lizzie. I would stay outside. You watched Lizzie run off, twisting your lips as you considered what to do. In the end, the pretty sky and the soothing sound of the waves won out. You stayed straight off the path, grinning at the feel of the sand quickly filling in the empty space in your flip-flops. That was fun for a while, but you grew bored eventually. How else could you enjoy the remainder of your time at the beach? There were seashells, you roamed around, I would probably look for seashells if I was younger. You walked to the shoreline, peering at any debris that washed up. Most of it was just seaweed. rocks and trash strewn now, and then you'd spot a seashell. You picked up the ones that stood out to you until you had a nice little collection. It was a great evening, but soon enough you had your fill and were ready to join the rest of your family back home. Not too much farther down, you spotted a familiar green head of her hair moss-sighing along the shore. You kept going. You went to see what Cove was up to. If I was a little kid, what would I do? I mean, I kind of know him. I guess we can go up to him. Curious, you strayed off of your path and walked over to him. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back and tossed it out in the water. You were impressed over how far he got it to go. It sailed out in the sea. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't care to try for that. The rock sunk off of like a rock and fell back down almost right after he tossed it. Kinda sunk. He sucks at throwing rocks. You can't skip rocks in the ocean. What are you doing? You looked for your own rock. Deciding to join Cove, you searched nearby for any rocks or shells that you could throw too. Okay. Cove jumped a little when he noticed you, and you gave a shrug and a smile, realizing you'd sort of forgotten to announce yourself. You found a shell that would suit your purposes, a smile growing as you tossed it as hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipped down into the water. You hadn't ended up with a very good throwing shell after all. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed, and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair. I've had to wear the cast for ages. I can't even swim.
When did you get it off? How do you get it? Yeah.
I was just skiing.
Really? That's not fair. Cool. Your eyes widened. My eyes widened. You hadn't heard the whole story yet, but the picture in your head was already sort of scary. He then continued to explain.
I crashed.
He gestured to his arm as if to say, and this was the result.
It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski. Well, I'm not. Oh.
Cove let out a huff, plopping down at the sand. So were you just using like regular skis?
I can't believe summer's almost over.
He sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. Hi, Spectre. Oh man, it's been a while. How have you been? How have you been?
I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that.
Great. Oh, that's good. Yo, it's been a busy day for me. So, yeah. You finished the last game? I did. I think it's been a while. I did play. There were multiple games of that series I played. That was like the Hello Charlotte series, so I finished the whole series technically. I've been doing good. I got into this game, so luckily this game is chill. This is supposed to be a sweet game. No violence or anything. No death like the last game, Hello Charlotte. Like. This time we're gonna be chilling. We should be fine. No violence, only wholesomeness for now.
So why don't you want to go? It's nice as far as schools go.
He'd only ever been to the one school, but you were sure his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet. Okay, oh yeah, also this is partially voice acted, so there are some parts I'm not gonna say. You weren't sure what to do. It felt weird to just leave him here crying, but what could you say that would help? He frowned a little, starting to stand.
Okay, well, bye then.
Cove gave his head a small shake.
No, I want to go back home.
Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home, the one that sat waiting someplace far from here, the one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. Do you hate it here? This can be your home. It'll be alright. Do you hate it here? I think I would say, do you hate it here? If I was a kid, maybe I would be blunt. Cove's brow furrowed even more. Then he shook his head.
You're not going to leave, right? You'll still be around?
The question was still a little surprising. I don't know.
Probably, I think.
You were pretty sure your moms would tell you if you were going to move, but the way Cove asked, so hesitant and vulnerable, made you feel a little uncertain to make a promise you might not keep. After a second, Cove gave a little nod.
Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming.
You were fine with him changing the subject again.
Okay.
You had to say swimming did some fun, even if it was already getting chilly out. Cove smiled and looked back to the waves.
My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything, eventually. That I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything.
You spared a glance over at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled.
But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it.
The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint familiar sound, the sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Had you guys really been sitting out here that long? You stood and dusted the sand off of yourself.
My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come.
Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately.
Okay.
When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Goodbye, summer. Oh, nice animation. You know, a small feature I like about this game, that the characters blink in the CGs. I think that's a really cool, like, small detail in between. Oh, okay, yeah, also there's characterization, like, of the MC here. Do I want to change anything? I'm gonna keep my skin tone. I think I'm fine with the rounds. I was fine with the way I was. Okay, I am fine where I am here. I still want to have pink hair. Maybe we could have short hair, probably. Or we could do pigtails. Ooh, we could do pigtails. We could. Do I want short hair or do I want pigtails? Maybe I want pigtails. Ooh, I like this one. This one's cute. I like that. Maybe I'll pick that. Let's pick that. My name is still Bert Ernie. I don't think that would change. Scar. Oh wait, I can give myself a scar. Yo, wait, birthmarks. And size medium. Yeah, I think that's still fine. I like that they give you a choice of, I guess, giving yourself, like, changes to your character if you want to throughout, like, the timelines. I don't think these earrings will show, so I guess we're good with earrings. Thin, thick, thin, thick. I can't tell the difference. What is the difference? I can't tell. Okay, I'm giving myself a battle scar. Yeah. Now we're good. Let's just give ourselves one scar and then we'll go forward. Let's give us. We can wear watches. I like watches. Let's go. I think we should be good. Yeah, we're done. Nervous, indifferent. Nervous, fond, crush. Love is available when? I think step 3. We're still gonna be socially awkward. Let's go. Yay! Socially anxious Bert, let's go! Oh, new customization. Choose to customize Cove yourself, or let his prior experience determine it. Ooh, okay, this is different. Oh! It's nice! Oh my god! Oh my goodness! I don't know how to feel about customizing him. I've never had an option where you customize the male lead. This is new to me. I don't know. Huh. I guess we'll check. Okay. Gotta make the perfect guy, I guess. Oh, he has 2 shirts. What the heck? Okay, that's not really... Doesn't really give me that many choices. Oh, those look bad on him. Oh my god, that was terrible. I think the first one is bad, like, fine. I think, yeah, let's just this one, I guess. Right wrist. None. Ooh. Oh, is there shark teeth? I think those are shark teeth. I think I like the first one, but let's just do the second one because I like the teeth. The first. Necklace. Sure, why not? PJs! What? We're gonna have sleepovers with this guy? Wait, he's like a teen here, right? I would think he's a teen. Okay. Sure, let's give him glasses. Actually, I don't know if I like the nerd look. Wait. I'll just do this. Jacket. I think the first one, I mean the second one is better. PJs. I mean, I don't really mind which PJs you are. I think it's just one of those just better. Okay. Done. August ended. September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school he was alright, but he kept his distance from the other kids from what you saw anyway. He would pass by you in the hallway. Oh, I got an achievement. Adolescence indifference. Start playing step 2 using the disinterest level. Oh yeah, we're still disinterested. Oh. At school he was alright, but he kept his distance from the other kids, from what you saw anyway. He would pass by you in the hallway as if you didn't know each other. That was just fine with you. Oh man, it might have been better if we were like not disinterested. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. Oh yeah, because they separated. They were kind of like... Yeah, he brought Cove with him to our place and the mom was just like in another city or something. At first you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry apparently. Aw. Then he found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons he thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He had said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to give Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. He didn't give me $20 again, did he? I mean, it's volunteer work, it's not really paid, but please, Mr. Holden, do not give me money. Do not give me money for hanging out with your son. You weren't sure how well it worked, though. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. He couldn't understand what had changed. Though you never asked, you doubted he would tell you. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were only other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Let's go, Cove! Yeah! Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did on tests and in other academic situations. Over the years, he still remained familiar in a lot of ways. He'd talk to people when they came to him, but never really searched out company on his own. Obviously, he's like an introvert, I guess. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. Aw, poor Shiloh. He and his mom moved back south because of her work. Just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. Had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. We're gonna see him again, probably. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. that was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple wanting something new and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. Oh, you remember calling her mom too as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for that word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She instead on everyone calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was he's and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had the time for it. Oh yeah, Derek's one of the love interests in this game. I thought this name was familiar, but I think he's one of the love interests. Because there's 3 love interests in this game. Cove, obviously, and then Derek, and then another person, which I don't know the name of. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed in small and big ways. You had to. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation had come again. So it's like every time when we play this game, it's always gonna be like a summer vacation. Like, that's what I'm assuming. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake, about to head out to enjoy your time off. I think I would be wide awake. I want to do something than staying in bed. You made sure to slather on a generous amount of sunscreen so you didn't get burnt. You were looking in the mirror, studying the clothes you'd thrown on, when your bedroom door opened without warning. In the reflection, you saw Elizabeth raise an eyebrow.
Have you been staring at yourself the whole morning?
Could you knock next time? Go away. Good morning, Elizabeth. This last one, though, it's kind of unsettling. Could you knock? Go away. We're gonna be angsty. We're gonna be an angsty teen. She ignored that, crossing her arms over her chest with a disgruntled expression. Clearly, she hadn't come in just to see you.
Mom told me to tell you that Cove's at the door. Mr. Holden made him bring some happy summer gift over. Mom wants you to take it from him, say thanks or whatever. So calm down already.
Be right there. Okay, fine. Really? That's great. I'm coming. I'll be there when I'm there. Okay, fine. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done with what was instructed of her. Now alone, you focus on the mirror once again. Your reflection hardly even fit in the frame. You're very tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall! Oh wow. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame. Your average height. There was a lot of open real estate in the frame. You're pretty short. You had trouble getting your reflection to appear in the mirror frame. You're very short. I think I'm fine being average. Cove was really tall, Derek was kind of short, and you were pretty much the exact height that someone would expect for a 13-year-old. You liked your height, you weren't sure how to feel about it, you were kind of self-conscious over. Let's be self-conscious! You couldn't help but feel awkward with the body you had. Then you put in the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. Wait, can we like pick choices of what we're wearing right now? I hope we do. You were a little bothered by the intrusion. Your plans for this special day were quickly being bogged down. Well, at least there was some kind of present involved. You left your room, resting a hand on the railing as you went down the stairs. Oh. Step 2, second chance. Second chance to win Cove's heart. Yeah. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Oh, she looks so pretty.
Good morning, Bert. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. You can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves?
You nodded and made your way to the front of the house, just as she said. Ma was there, making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Look who finally made it, morning sleepyhead.
Ma reached forward, and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average, so you were little in her eyes, despite being a typical size for your own age. Dang it, we're not tall as Mom. Or Ma, her name's Ma, I guess. You let her do it. You happily let her do it. You tilted her body aside to dodge. You pushed her hand back and laughed. You pushed her hand back and grunted. Let's dodge. Don't touch me, Ma! Ma didn't bother trying to catch you. She simply smiled.
You're the last one down here today. You know that.
Life isn't a race. Morning. I was going to stay in longer, so you're welcome. Sorry about the wait. What did we get? What did we get?
Of course that's what you're thinking about. Allow me to get out of your way so you can find out.
With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered exactly how you came to know him to be. Oh, he looks shy, dude. He was like kind of shy. Yeah, he was shy when he was a little kid, but he kind of looks like a bit sad, not a little bit like shy and mean. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in your doorway as the longer strands of his hair idly drifted with the breeze. Why is he holding flowers? Dude, why are you holding flowers? His features were pinched in embarrassment as he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must be the much talked about gift. Are those candies? Because if there's candies, I kind of want to eat some. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. Oh, that's from Cove's dad. Oh, okay, I thought that was from Cove himself. You couldn't imagine how many folks buying this sort of thing for their own personal enjoyments. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Cove audibly sighed. There was no way to tell if he was just relieved that he could leave soon, or if he wasn't too happy to see you. Either was equally possible. The two of you had never clicked like your families wanted, not even close. Hey. Hi. Nice to see you again. Yeah. Oh, he said something. I couldn't hear it. Hold on, let me see if I can make the audio, like, higher for the voice. Oh, it's already at max. Okay. Huh, okay. It felt slow. Sounds slow. Maybe I need to erase it on my side. I think that's why. Well, you suppose... Wait, hold on. And that was all he said. Well, you suppose it could be considered comforting that some things don't ever change. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with Cove's undesired presence filling the days. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back, and so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it, and with that, the gift was accepted. This is for your family. Dad got it as a present for you all. I just had to bring it. He's busy. You raised an eyebrow at the explanation. Mr. Holden being busy is probably not the only reason he wanted Cove to be the one to drop it off. But you didn't comment. Thank you to you and Mr. Holden. I'll tell them you said that. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had. He's very strange. Mr. Holden is very strange. Though after 5 years, you were used to his antics and you'd still made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was nice, he was sort of funny, he was pretty weird. You didn't like him, he was great and kind of handsome too. Oh, no. Definitely not that. Definitely not this one. Definitely not this one either. I think he's goofy. He's pretty goofy. I think he's just really... I don't need to say this. He's pretty goofy. Sometimes that could be a thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared this confused look with Cove. As both of you stepped through the open door into the neighborhood streets. Is it Mr. Holden? It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek. Oh, it's Derek! Just a few yards down the road, he ran up to you. Grabbed this at the sight of him. You were confused at the sight of him. You were displeased at the... I'm confused. What do you look like, Derek? You hadn't expected to see Derek today, though you never really knew when he'd appear. Oh my gosh, he looks so adorable. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin. Hey, guy and gal! Good. Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, Cove looks a lot more older compared to Derek. It's kinda... I feel like they look a bit different. Like, Cove looks 16. I'm assuming Cove's our age, but Cove looks 16. Derek looks like he's 11 or 12. They look like very different. Very different in age. It would be strange if they're the same age, though. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Oh, maybe let me give him a little different voice. I'm glad you didn't go too far. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. It's kinda like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruits. Nice! Can I have some? Sure, we can share. I haven't even tried any yet. It's a gift for my family. I can't give it to you. Maybe you can have some later. Oh, sure. I like Derek. He seems cool. Even though I just barely met him. Derek grew more excited by your words, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Awesome! Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was so surprised as you were by the news. Sure, a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nah, the new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope, I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked slowly. You looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove, when you first got here anyway. Oh, yeah, I guess that was me back then. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well. Not that you say so. But what do you say? Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see what this person is. Derek grinned. Then he pointed down the street, the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in the comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scoffed around, kicking up at the sand as he paced. It was true. He certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like he had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched-up expression, he came off angry. You became uncomfortable at the idea of talking to the stranger now. You didn't want to bother him if he was in such a bad mood. You shared a look with Cove. He was equally reluctant to start up a conversation. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over here! Oh man, oh god. That kid looks really angry. The kid whipped around an impressive scowl, carving deeper into his face. His eyes were tired, but strong hostile energy still radiated from him. What? What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy, what was that it? No, I'm Derek. That's Bird and Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. You know, Derek kind of reminds me of Cal. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so you know, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. His steam could erupt from a person's ears. It would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid, of course. I knew it. I don't know what to give Jeremy's voice yet. I might improvise later. What? My parents, they're the ones who brought me. I didn't want to walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right, my dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, but he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad.
That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy.
I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation. Probably either.
That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, but sure.
I don't think that's a good voice for me either. Well...
My parents' family is nearby, and we just had to come see them. Ugh.
If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
That's a pretty good reason to come by. Do you want to go somewhere else?
No.
Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away.
They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. Pfft. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid.
You kept quiet. You shouldn't talk about your parents like that. Sorry, it must suck being forced to do something you don't want. We just said hello. You don't have to be complaining at us. Calm down. You don't have to yell so much. Who heathen your skills. You kept quiet. I would probably be quiet. You had no idea what to say to this, so you stayed silent. Jeremy didn't even notice. Too focused on ranting.
How do they always make summer vacation worse every year?
You turned to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Besides the green hair, Jeremy must have had good rearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scuffed.
Stupid. Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid.
Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the result. As the insult, you couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger, maybe both.
Come on!
What? No, Cove's wavy eyebrows are so cool. How can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? Don't listen to him. They're really unique and special. Well, they are kind of silly. Apologies to Cove right now. You can't treat people like that. What? I'd be like, I would probably say this.
Yeah, yep, it's embarrassing and awful.
Oh, hold on. I don't know how I can delete this message. No. Oh, I can't even press it. What the heck? Okay, that's weird. I can't even press the message. Okay. Dang, I'm sorry, it's just stuck there. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay.
Yep, it's embarrassing and awful, but my parents made me.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks.
I won't have to have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with these things except maybe shave them off. He probably should. I bet he'd look less dumb with no eyebrows.
You just rolled your eyes, you crossed your arms over your chest, you shook your head, you patted Cove on the shoulder, you lunged towards Jeremy, you grinned at all of this. I did this probably. You're getting really tired of this.
Wow, what is wrong with you?
Instead of taking on offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice.
Wow, what is wrong with
Wah wah. This is dumb.
Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over, until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what you just happened.
I can't believe it! What a mean kid!
Derek wasn't kidding, but by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. He followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe.
He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you and with a hopeful expression.
But, you know what would really improve that day?
What? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You'd completely forgotten what about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You had gotten used to the weight. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Well, let's eat. Yeah, sure, let's eat. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached over for a skewer, hesitating slightly over once he was inches away. He nodded with an eager grin. He plucked out the prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Once you were without a skewer on your own, you took a pineapple, skewer, grape, strawberry. I like melon. The melon was cut to look like a star. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate the pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments.
This is amazing!
It's no different than any other normal fruit. It's kind of worse. These have been out on the open with their skins off for a while. Bro, how long did your dad have them?
Sheesh! Hey, you two remember the Land Before Time? That fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all like the leaves that were shaped like stars.
Tree stars.
Yeah, chopping leaves like looked so delicious when they did it.
Hold on, I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. Oh, I accidentally left the desktop audio on my pad. Okay.
And there was that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them. Till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome.
I love that movie. I never seen it. I didn't like that one. The movie's for kids. Eating leaves looks good. Should I worry about you? Do you think things taste better when they're shaped like stars? I never watched it. Honestly, I've never watched it either.
You should. It's great and really sad, but still great. Plus, it's about dinosaurs.
The three of you continue like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Hey, we weren't supposed to eat all of it. It did help make you feel better. Eating it all hadn't really made you feel better. I feel sick. Cove, what did your dad do with the fruit? Even if it was good, you weren't over the earlier drama. Cove stood up unannounced, dusting sand off his clothes with one hand. You saw a flash of his scar on the inside of his arm as he did. I'm gonna go home, go.
Okay, bye, dude.
Bye. You watched as he walked off towards some other people that wasn't here. It wasn't here. His gait unhurried. You weren't annoyed or so upset by his sudden exit. It was how Cove was, only sticking around as long as he saw fit. Derek let out a deep breath and leaned back on his arms. His head rolled until his gaze met yours.
So, are you ready for the summer break?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Are you? How's someone supposed to be ready for a break? Yeah.
Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. It feels like there's a lot to plan out for.
Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered.
Hey, Bert.
You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none to be pleased.
I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden bought for us.
She leered over you and her with arms folded.
So, where is it? It's gone. What do you mean, gone?
You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which is now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Oh, my bad. Hold on. Her mouth dropped open and the tone of her voice rose.
Seriously, Bert? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home.
Sorry, Elizabeth, get over it. Well, the morning's been kind of a disaster. We were hungry. It wasn't us. The seagull came down and it was a seagull! Blame the seagull! Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all deceived by your response.
Oh no. I think I hear the main kid coming back. We better get out of here.
Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around.
What kid? I don't see anyone.
Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. You stayed? What if he stayed? I want to see what would happen to me. You didn't make a break for it. Instead, you carefully got out from the sand and bouquet still in hand. Once you straightened up, Elizabeth smiled affectionately over at you.
Come on, fugitive.
You nodded and gazed at the empty bouquet. How would you explain what happened?
You know, you could tell them those boys ate it all. They bailed, so they don't get to tell the story. Moms would never need to find out. Really?
She bumped your shoulder, making shakily. Oh, she seems nicer than when she was like a little kid. Than she was looking.
What else is family for?
You left together, making your way home side by side. When you and Elizabeth had returned earlier with the empty bouquet, Mom was bummed she didn't get anything. Ma consoled her with a promise to make her fruit flower one for her one later. I think that would be pretty cute if she did that to her wife. Elizabeth said nothing about how it came to be empty, and the event was dropped without a question. You think they were just happy you and your sister seemed to be in good moods. That was a while ago now. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on the call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's gonna wanna come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Lizzie, Elizabeth too. But now that your sister had been allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. She was your friend, who was a girl. Being family helped to make you close, but you had a lot of girlfriends. We're a loner. She's our only friend. You weren't all close with any other girls your age. But you had plenty of other friends, but you didn't really have a lot of other friends either. We didn't have a lot of other friends. Ma always said the quality was more important than quantity when Elizabeth bemoaned your small social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless, you thought that what you had with Lee was good. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Lee, finally. Who is it? Ernie, residence Bert speaking. Hello? Hello, say hello.
Hi, Bert. It's Lee.
Oh my gosh, she's gonna have a similar voice to Elizabeth.
I'm glad it's you for sure, though. I thought it might be one of Elizabeth's friends.
There was a static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was.
So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of the boring stuff, and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out...
Lee, can you wait a second? Let me head to my room.
Oh yeah!
You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Actually, what timeline is this at? I kind of realized what time... What is the timeline of this game? Because I thought this was going to be like, 2020 or something, but I feel like it might be like something like 2000s. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which was why you hadn't been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. Your mom's could be really unfair. You thought that made sense. You didn't like it, but it had to be that way. I didn't like it. You weren't the only person here. If anyone could take the phone anywhere at any time, it'd be an even bigger hassle. You could easily imagine a receiver having a new forever home in Elizabeth's locked room. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed.
Alright, I'm here.
Cool. Hey, did you know the girl down on the street for me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Oh, really?
The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you.
Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish she changed her mind. We could call each other every single day, and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be?
Really great, but wouldn't I still be using a home phone? It's too bad that's so far. Wouldn't I still be using a home phone?
My moms would be able to stop us if they wanted.
Lee laughed. You didn't put a damper on her imagination.
Oh, then you have your own phone too. Well, that works.
She sighed dramatically.
I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college.
Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over, and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to college. School was such a big part of your life right now. Studying didn't come easily to you, though you tried hard. You worked about as hard as most people and got pretty average results as well. You never tried much, but you still didn't do that bad. You didn't bother at all school, and your grades reflected that. Everything in your classes come easily to you. You worked hard for excellent grades. How do I want Bert to be? Let's do... We worked hard. We're a good hard worker. Bert's hardworking. Every A+ you brought home was a result of concentration and diligence. You hoped that you would be able to keep it up through high school. You felt a lot of pressure to maintain the high grades you had last year. You hoped to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a good big deal if they dropped some. You were confident your grades were going to remain great. Bert isn't confident. Bert's not confident. You had no plans on getting solid scores. We feel a lot of pressure. Your future depended on it.
Yeah.
You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the reseason. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
He sounds so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school.
Lee groans.
Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing.
I'm looking forward to going back. Let's take the petition for more vacation time. It's awful. I hate going. Come on, it's just too scary not to think about it. I'm too scared. I'm scared. No matter how much you wanted to enjoy your free time, the creeping dread of knowing that it would come to an end was always there beside you.
I get what you mean. Oh, I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more than school's out.
Learning new things can be cool. Gym is pretty great though. No, Bert is not good at gym. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. A cafeteria lunches at my school could be better than they had or won't be. There's something good about my school. I guess learning new things is cool. Hi Sleepy Roll, welcome to stream. Also, that's a cool emote. I like that emote.
I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people.
Me too.
Gym is pretty great, nah, but that was all. That was all.
That's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken. Now I decree the top of the school to officially close. We have to talk about this summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Like, I'm gonna visit my cousins.
You chuckled, of course.
What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head.
I want to spend time with people. I've got some new art supplies, reading. I gotta catch up on movies and TV. Probably I'll spend time at the beach. I don't want to do anything at all this vacation. We're gonna be artsy.
I can't wait to try them out. I can't wait to see what you make.
You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continue chatting with your friends. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day, you sat up straighter.
I was with Cove and Derek today when we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents were visiting a family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like?
Creepy, mean, weird, kind of mean. He was mean!
He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone, but especially Cove. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist.
Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her.
Who are you talking to? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know.
That's true. That is not the same. They are not always around. I'm not the ones who invites them. They show up on their own. You weren't able to say anything. It's not the same. They're my pals. They're my pals. Lee laughed at your rejection of the idea, deeply amused. You shut your eyes tightly, feeling embarrassed about her reaction. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face. The little adventure from earlier hadn't gotten you any good all this time, it seemed.
How long are you going to hog the phone?
Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face.
Time's up.
Gotta go, I'll see you soon, okay? With a sigh, you said your goodbyes to Lee. Sorry for being long. I'm still using it. No, get out of my room. But I'm still using it. Okay, bye, Lee. Bye, Lee.
Lee, I have to go now.
Okay, see you soon. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi, too.
You'd barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset of your fingers and began dialing someone who knew as she strode out of the room. Your ma's voice called from downstairs.
Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it.
With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. Dang. Fine, Elizabeth, take my phone, I guess. That was the one way to end your first day of summer break. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they had, hash browns, an omelet, a fruit salad, and there were also a few sausage links. Delicious. You took a little bit of everything. You passed on some parts because they weren't things you liked. You passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid meat. You passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid... I would take everything, dude. I would be really hungry. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up and occupy your time. You stepped out of the front door and onto the street, deciding which way to go first, when the voice caught your attention. Hi, birds! Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, or from the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who that woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. I think you should run away, Bird. Bird, I think this is another Mr. Holden situation. Who are you? Are you? Oh, what if you're Cove's mom? What if she's Cove's mom? What voice would I give to you? I don't know what to give you. What voice? I'm running out of voices here, huh?
Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but I have no idea who I am,
Do you? You shook your head, and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes, and all of a sudden she seemed a little more familiar. Oh, she is the mom! She is the mom! I was right! Uh-oh. Wait, they said that they divorced, and, like, Mr. Holden won custody, so something's going on. Something's going on then. What was going on with the situation? My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner now that you've gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice, she seemed kind of strange, she looked really young. It made sense that she was Cove's mom. She was super pretty, she felt so different to Cove. She seemed... I don't know, I'm kind of suspicious. From what we heard about the divorce and everything, I think I'll be a little suspicious of her. I will say she felt different to Cove. In the little time you'd been around her, she'd give off a totally different expression than Cove did. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from your wrist. I'm Kyra, Priest. You can call me Kyra. You shook her head. You didn't shake her. I didn't shake her hand. I don't know you! You're still a stranger to me! She looked a little sad that their gesture wasn't mirrored, taking back her hand and running it through her long hair, but she grinned sympathetically.
You already know my name?
That I do. Cove's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you, birds.
He did? Cove and I aren't really friends.
I've also heard that. Maybe that will change one day. What has Cove said about me? What are you doing here? Nice to meet you too. What are you doing here? I've come to visit this summer, to spend with Cove and see the sights. They say this is a tourist town, right? The sound of a door opening and closing caught both your attentions, and you turned toward the sound it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the short side. For an adult anyway, Cove's height must have come from his father. There you are. I thought you were gonna keep me standing out here all day. You said nothing as Cove walked over to the two of you. When he finally looked up, he noticed you were there and raised his eyebrows curiously. You couldn't quite tell if the expression that crossed his face was confusion or relief. Cove and I are heading to the town to grab something to eat while the snorer is at work. The snorer? You mean the dad? Huh. Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snorer she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Bird. I'd love to go to know you better. Yeah, you should come. You were a little taken aback by Cove's agreement. You hadn't imagined being stuck with him and he's suddenly appearing mom for the afternoon, especially not if he was going to be glooming the whole time. Of course, we'll run it by your parents first, responsibility and all that. It'll give me an excuse to meet them which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on the street for the time being. Whoosies, let's go. Kyra walked ahead towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her. I'm sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us, not right now. I didn't know your mom was coming over. Don't you usually go to where she is? Yeah, she's gonna be staying with us for the summer. She just got here this morning. I was surprised. It was a surprise they planned. Surprise. His face scrunched up more. He nodded in understanding. Cove had been through a lot with both his parents the past few years, and it seemed like it was still taking him time to adjust. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked in on your front door and stood behind her. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. You realized that, like you, she would have no idea that it was Cove's mom who was hanging with you. However, after blinking at the woman a couple of times and looked between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike on her.
Hello there, I'm Pamela. I see you've met my kid Bert, and I'm guessing you've already known Cove for a while.
Kyra laughed, and you and Cove exchanged looks at the parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kyra Priest, Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eye as Ma popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her.
We have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was.
She grinned excitedly at Kyra, the two of them introducing themselves and shook hands.
Hi, Bert. I'm Cove.
Oh. Huh? I'm confused by that statement. Cove smiled at Ma shyly, and she gestured ahead towards the living room.
There's no use hanging around the doorway. Why don't you come in?
I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit. Cove grimaced. He likely took offense at how she didn't want to put them out with a surprise visit, but not about him, apparently.
I understand. You're welcome to stop by any time.
I'll take you up on that offer when I can. Count on it. Would you mind too much if Bert went with Cove and I, my treat? We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road.
Sure, that sounds nice.
I hope you all have fun.
You gave your moms a look and they smiled and bit you fondly. They don't know. You were happy they were letting go. You were kind of annoyed, we're annoyed. We had other plans. Even if you had shown up with them, you and Cove didn't hang out often. The least they could have done was check with you first. Letting on the side, you resigned yourself in the fact that you didn't have much of a choice. Marvelous, expect us back in an hour or two.
We look forward to seeing you again. Take care.
Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street. There was the sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I saw it was in the taxi, not too far from here. Yeah, it's a tourist town, isn't it? There's a lot of them around. It was kind of strange to see Cove give someone this much attitude. If he wasn't in the mood to be nice, he generally just kept to himself. Kyra put her hands on her hips and smiled to her son. Well, you sound like the area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Kyra pouted at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you, Bert? Want to point me to the right direction? You shrugged. Not really. Sure, I have a couple favorites. I'll just nod. Sure, I'll be nice for now. You'd been to a lot of places in town, so you knew a couple of good ones.
There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. There's also a tropical theme place that tries to be sort of fancy.
Both sound like a treat. I'll leave it to you to pick for us, since Cove is going through a phase after there. Though, he huffed at her and turned his face away. The Chinese restaurant, the tropical theme place. He said instead Cove contribute to the decision. He insisted Kyra decide. Chinese restaurant, sure. Will you show us the way? Sure, I guess. You nodded, taking the lead of your little group as Cove and his mom followed behind you. Together, the three of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kyra asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her instead. Kyra explained that she lived in a large city, and she loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed in Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Kyra lowered herself in the chair, while Cove picked up one diagonal to her. Not facing her or to her side, it was awkward. Let's see, to the start, what would you all like to drink? I'll get an orange soda. Bert? Just water, soda, milk, soda, like soda pop. Which flavor? Lemon lime. Sure. Kara placed the order for your drinks, getting a black hot coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they were brought to the table and set in front of her. You took a long sip of her brewed drink as you looked around the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menus and you decided to order as usual thing. You had been to the restaurant many times, so you knew what was good and what wasn't already. Kyra and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Yeah, the game's free. The one I'm playing right now, but there are a lot of DLCs for this game too. Which I think they're around like under $5, but you can check on Steam. This is available on Steam and on itch.io, but the game I'm playing right now is free. Also, it's like very long. It's like 16 to 24 hours. It's a lot of content. Kyra and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon the meals, too, were ordered and the menus taken away. You glance at the table surface, waiting to figure out what it had to say. Cove awkwardly sunk back further into his seat and crossed his arms, all while blatantly avoiding eye contact. The side wall must be real interesting to him right now. His sour feelings today were ignorable. Instead of asking more open questions, he'd brush off. Kyra had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you. So, Bird, what's a few things that you're into? There's gonna be something you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried in school assignments. Wow, that is a lot. Oh god. Okay, okay, drawing.
I filled out a lot of sketchbooks.
Let's do everything. I enjoy painting from time to time too, but I can't say I'm good at it. Sculpting too.
You learned how to make clay sculptures at school and I loved doing it ever since.
Digitally. Everything, Bird. Bird's gonna be the extreme artsy person.
My computer at home doesn't really have all the programs I need. I like looking at other people's art, but we only have a small gallery here. I hope one day I can travel to all the big ones.
Games. We're also a gamer. We do all the games. That's right, we should all play a game together sometime. I don't know much about them, but you can show me sometime. Card games. I like card games too. Maybe we can all play together sometime. And you didn't say anything else. I'm happy to learn more about you. There's so much I hadn't heard. Cove leaves the details out.
So what exactly did Cove say about me?
Kyra laughed, holding a hand in front of her mouth. I can't tell you that. I didn't come all the way to embarrass my son too much. Kids are delicate at this age. Cove, what did you say about me? Cove? Cove? She laughed again and he glanced at Cove to see his reaction. He cringed, looking very much like he would rather be anywhere but here. Hoping it could be clear some of this tension in the air, you decided to ask Kyra a few questions of your own. Cove hadn't told you much about her, and you were curious to know more about this woman who was such a big part of his life.
What exactly do you do for work?
I'm a travel writer for magazines and things. I keep people in the loop on what's worth seeing, and it's good work. Wait, it's good work.
Wow.
What do you like to do? Where do you like live normally? Are you in a new relationship now? Why did you? Oh, that I don't want to say that. I think that might be too direct. Okay. Where do you live normally? Nevada. Have you ever been there? You shook her head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. You can't bring yourself to ask him. We can? Okay, I might be making a huge mistake here, but we're gonna make a huge mistake here, okay. Cove nudged you in the arm when you looked at him. He seemed furious. Kyra brushed the question off lightly. And be direct. That's grown-up stuff. You should enjoy your youth while you can without having to worry about all that. Cove sipped his soda angrily, slipping up the remaining drink with furrowed brows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You wondered if he was annoyed that you was spending the time talking to his mom, but he hadn't seemed to want want to talk to her at all. He made a silly face at him. You smiled at him. You gave him a sympathetic look. You flicked the straw wrapper at him. You sympathetic look. Cove eventually noticed you watching him. You gave him a look to let him know you were there for him. It was subtle, but you swore you could see the hint of a smile tilting the corner of his lips. You two seem really cute together. No! No! Cove covered his face with his hands and leaned back to his seat. Mom, why would you say that? You felt bothered too. I laugh. That was definitely unexpected, and there didn't seem to be any other way you could react. Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was so delicious, even Cove enjoyed his food. Alright, now that we're all well, full and content, can you explain please why you've had a bug up your butt all day? Cove's face instantly returned to its scrunched form. Seriously, what did Mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. He gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward to not miss anything else, eyebrows raised. Told you what? He finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't gonna visit you this year, that you were gonna be coming instead. Didn't you invite me? You wanted me to be here with you. Cove's eyes began to shake and his frustration ebbed. I do want you to be around, but I didn't know it'd be like this. It's not the same and nobody said anything. Her expression grew tense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hands in front of her on the table. You have both been gifted another Clifford surprise. Referring to that as a Clifford surprise almost caused both you and Cove to crack a smile. You also had no idea his name wasn't just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody had ever called him Clifford. Until now. She smoothed her hair out, not letting go of her stern look. The more things change, the more they stay the same. They let out identical sighs, but smiled weakly at one another afterwards. I can go home, Cove. We can still set up a normal trip to my place before the summer ends. Cove's lips tightly closed together. You seriously pondered the option. I think I do want you to stay. I miss it when you're not there. My heart. She reached across the gap, grabbed his face and planted a kiss on his cheek. Cove tried to wiggle away. Mom, stop. I'm sorry, sweet young men need to be smooshed by their parents. If I don't, they'll take away my mom license. Kyra was completely enthused by Cove's admission, though a tone of seriousness did return to her voice when the conversation continued. Do you want to talk to your dad too? No? Well, why he shouted? Cove had snapped the word instantly, but reeled his annoyance back in just as quickly. Maybe later, not today. I understand, we could shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, little mister. She grinned affectionately at him before turning your way. And thank you, Bert. Huh?
What did I do?
It's easy to act like a baby with your mom. It's harder to keep that up with your neighbor watching everything. Mom? She just ruffled his hair with a laugh, then moved her hand down to tap the end of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cove and his mom. When the three of you left the restaurant and Kyra had paid the bill, you walked back to your neighborhood slowly. You had eaten so much by the time. You were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that the lunch had happened late, and the sun was already beginning to descend from the sky. Oh, he looks a bit different. Oh wow, but eventually you reached your street. Someone was there to greet your group upon arrival. I think I liked his regular... I don't know, I think I liked his first avatar design. I don't think I like this. I like the other one when we met him as a kid, like a very small kid. Welcome back, family, and Bert too. Cliff. Dad. The two walked past him in the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. Oh, I'm in trouble again. He rubbed the back of his neck with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked on after them. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? Kinda. He gave a vague nod, not sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, Bert.
You too, Mr. Holden.
With that, Cove's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you imagined it. It would have though. It turned out to set the tone well. Having Kyra in the neighborhood was a new experience for not only you and Cove, but also both your families, and the dull moment was rarely had. Oh, okay, finally we get to see what we're gonna do for the summer. Okay, we're gonna save here and then try everything. What do you want to do? Oh, growing again. Huh, that's another thing that happened in step 1. Ooh, but we're not gonna be Cove in road trip. Let's do Wave. The family shopping trip had lasted most of the morning, and you still had to unload everything from the truck before you could go enjoy the afternoon. You cradled another bag in your arms as you headed towards your house. It was one of the heavier bags from the grocery store, loaded with fresh apples, ripe tomatoes, and a bunch of carrots, and even half a watermelon. Ma came out of the front door and paused just ahead of you.
It's no trouble.
Need any help with that, Bert? I can bring it the rest of the way if you want me to.
Yes, please, it would be helpful. Yes, please, it was just too heavy. No, I've got it. You were doing fine. No, I've got it. You could just manage to hold it. You eagerly agreed with a nod in your head. You need someone else to take it. You didn't say anything. You just want to finish your job, no problem. I need help. Ma stepped forward to take the bag from your arms, and you headed back to the car to grab a new one. This time you got a smaller bag with a loaf of fresh bread and a couple of packets of dried pasta specials. You passed Ma again and your way back to the house, and she gave you an encouraging grin and rustled her fingers through your pink hair. You set the next bag on the counter. Your older sister began to root around inside for the contents with a sigh.
How much is left? Still a few more bags.
With a huff and a puff, Elizabeth continued putting away the groceries, and you retreated out of the kitchen before you could become the target of her bad mood.
Be careful.
Careful, Bert.
Hadn't been looking where you were going and bumped right into your mom, almost stepping on her toes to boot.
Sorry. I can give you a pass this time, but be sure to watch where you're going. If you run into the wrong person, you might get your license revoked.
She grinned at the bad joke as you continued through the door. Outside, Ma had started organizing what remained and putting back any loose objects that had fallen out during the trip. When you stepped up to the trunk beside her, you took in a big breath of her air, her dress gently swaying around in the breeze.
It's a shame we had to spend the morning cooped up in the shopping center. It's a beautiful day, don't you think?
You tilted your head to the sky, gazing at the clear blue expanse. Yeah, it is. Days like today are my favorite. It's too hot. I wish it was rain. I like it when it's stormy the best. Honestly, yeah, I like when it's stormy. You thought the past winter, remembering the nip of the cool air that would travel off the sea. It didn't know snow and sunset bird, but being wrapped up in the bed, listening to the thunder and lightning gave you a certain sense of peace.
I'm impressed you can enjoy something like that. It's a good way to think.
You smiled at her, turning back to the trunk to help out with the last of the bags.
Oh, hi, Cove.
You noticed Mom wave over at Cove, who had just exited his front door, his surfboard propped up under one arm.
Let me see. Surfboard and wetsuit. Where might you be off on this beautiful day?
Oh, Cove hesitated, looking a little startled at having been noticed. But then he waved, even though you couldn't tell he was in a hurry. Hey.
Hi, Cove.
That was the length of your conversation with him. Cove still exchanged a couple more words with your parents from across the driveway. After that, he adjusted the surfboard under his arm, a little getting a better grip on it. I've got to get down to the beach before the wind turns. With a last wave of goodbye, Cove turned and headed down the road towards the beach.
Take care.
Take care, sweetie.
You continued to look the way he went as you became lost in thought. You were also gonna hang out at the beach this afternoon. I want to go to the beach. I like the beach. It didn't change things if Cove would be there or not. You could still have your fun. You were focused on the task at hand, making sure all the groceries got inside. Once everything had been put away, you leaned against the kitchen counter, watching your moms busy themselves with lunch. You had a surfboard in your room that you wanted to take with. Your family had a surfboard around here somewhere. You felt like using it. You're ready to go though. surfboard in our room. You'd been practicing your surfing more and more lately. He was always ready to go.
Can I go to the beach now?
Sure thing.
Sure, Bert. Just remember to bring some water.
Maybe you could bring some for Cove too. He's already there.
She gave you a cheeky smile. You knew your parents had hoped you'd become friends with Cove, but the two of you had never really clicked. After grabbing your board and getting everything ready, you headed down to the beach.
Have fun, honey.
Stay safe.
When you made it to the shore, you were greeted by the crash of waves and the soft calls of seagulls. You took in a lungful of the ocean air and felt your peachy skin warm in the sun. You noticed a small sit-up nearby with a towel, some sunscreen, and a bottle of water. It must be Cove's. Looking out at the momentarily calm surface of the sea, you caught a glimpse of Cove balanced on his board, surrounded by the gleam of sunlight dancing on the water. You were excited to get out there. You wondered if Cove was up for a little competition. Just spot away from Cove. Do I want to be away or do I? Kind of want to compete with him though. I kind of wanted to compete. Neither of you were a professional by any means, but some friendly competition would never hurt anyone. With your board under your arm, you headed down to the water and called out to him, watching the way wet hair spun around his face when he turned. You began to paddle into the ocean. The water was cool as it parted beneath your cupped fingers. A fish darted away, alarmed by your splashing. Soon you arrived at the point far enough to catch some waves. Hey. You looked away, unable to make eye contact.
Hi. I was wondering if you wanted to try competing.
His eyebrow raised incredulously. It wasn't as though this was the only spot, and you generally didn't want to hang out with him just cause... What for? Just for fun, so I can beat you? Why not? I'm bored. Well, we don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's to see who's better. I wanna beat you. I wanna beat you. Cove hummed and sized you up. You glanced at his stance in return. He always looked more comfortable out here at the sea than on land. I don't mind, I guess. Let's go for it. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I gotta do something. Okay, I am back. Let me just raise the music a bit more. Okay. You took a deep breath and prepared yourself for the challenge to come, and you were happy that Cove agreed. Oh, what? Oh, sorry, I hit the game. You started by outlining the rules of the competition, but it was a casual, informal deal. Sometimes you caught waves, while other times you showed off by doing different tricks. The weather was perfect, the right amount of heat to balance out the chill of the waves. Occasionally, you'd glimpse of something in the clear ocean, another fish, a piece of seaweed, or at one point something that looked like a wooden clothespin, just floating there. Cove, as a surfer, was similar to his own personality, a bit awkward, his brow furrowed in concentration, and yet his smile never wavered. However, you tried to keep your focus on the feel of the waves and your balance on your board. He complimented you mildly after you tackled a big wave. You were awesome at surfing, you're pretty good at competing. You fell off your board once, which wasn't bad. You didn't do well. We didn't do well, we're terrible. You mostly kept your belly on the board. You managed to stand up a few times, but it was difficult. You would start to pop up with something deep in your head, would scream that it didn't feel right. How were you supposed to balance? But despite the fact that you kept slipping off, you kept at it. You got back on your board and rode the next wave. Cove could hardly keep watching the show. At the end, neared it was the bad that made you even more determined to have one final perfect wave. He had issued this challenge and you refused to quit. You practiced on a couple easy waves and then set your sights on finding a harder one. Projecting a surfing confidence you didn't actually have, you entered the wave you shook as you slowly stood up, staying low and spreading your arms for balance. Oof. Poor us. It wasn't quite the right angle, so you did an odd sort of shimmy. To correct the nose on your board, it worked and you risked shooting Cove a triumphant nod. So you couldn't take the victory of your competition, yet at least take this moment. The setting sun was visible on the horizon. Every time you would look away, it had sunk a little lower. The beach was darkening, but still pleasantly warm. You knew you should get out of the water before it was completely dark in the sea. You rode one last wave to get back to the beach. There you picked up your surfboard and gave it a quick once over. After reaching the shore again, you glanced back at the ocean. The waves seemed calmer. The beautiful sunset was too pretty to turn away from. The warm colors were vivid in the distance, and you stood in the shallows of your eyes on the horizon. The sea lapped on your ankles, and you felt yourself sinking slowly in the sand. You heard a splash and noticed that Cove had stopped surfing as well. He took large steps as he climbed out of the ocean. Cove made his way over. He didn't say anything, but struck around to admire the sunset. Cove broke the silence. The waves were good today, I think. Yeah, totally, I guess. Perfect for surfing. Did you really think so? Totally, yeah, I think they were good. He nodded mildly. I caught some pretty good waves today. That's good. You couldn't exactly say the same of yourself, with how many times you'd wiped out. Bert's not good at surfing. Oh no. Then you had given it your all. You're still the best surfer here. Yeah, thanks. He was humble about it, but you both knew it was true. You chatted a little more until the conversation truly died out, and all you heard was the rhythmic sound of waves. And Cove sighed. The day can't be over, not yet. He scowled in the distance as if the sun exiting the sky was a personal offense. Don't you think it should be longer? Yeah, it felt long enough to me. Only a shrug could express your feeling. Yeah. Cove stood up straight in defiance of the approaching darkness. I'm not gonna go home yet. I want to go somewhere. I don't know. Cove was still dripping in salt water, so you weren't sure what the alternative was. Wetsuits were fine for the beach and not much else. It wasn't a good idea for him to lug his surfboard around to him either. I'll need to call it a night. Yeah, I want to do something too. I'll sure be welcome anywhere soaking wet like this. I'll be sure. We're gonna be sarcastic. I don't know. I want to do something. Cove nodded with a smile. Then he looked down the shore with a wide, shining eye. There's at least one place that it's always okay to hang out no matter what time it is. The park. Can you bring your surfboard, dear? I guess. He nodded. The park was virtually always empty. Even Elizabeth only went over there nowadays if she was looking for you. How times have changed. She used to be so protective of the place. In fact, the only person there was a chance of running into might be Jeremy, that Jeremy kid again. He brought the idea up to Cove and he cringed, but I'm still going. The sun is still there. A little. I'm staying out as long as it is. You tagged along. I want to go. I want to play the playgrounds. Really? Okay. He definitely hadn't expected it, but wasn't going to stop you, and you hadn't expected that. Cove took a minute to put his stuff in order. He made sure to get it all, though. He didn't take much care to shake the sand off. You dealt with your own things. You stuffed everything together quickly. You took your time to pack your bag. Take your time. The two of you finished at about the same time. He led the way down the beach to the park. It wasn't far, so it didn't take you long at all. The sun still hadn't completely disappeared just yet when you made your arrival. Cove struck his surfboard upright in the sand and tossed his towel over top. By now, the two of you were mostly dry. The summer breeze on your skin kept you pleasantly warm. Cove idly went over to the monkey bars. He grabbed them, feet flat on the ground, and pretended to go cross. He'd had definitely grown in the past few years. You could barely use the monkey bars yourself. There wasn't much space at all between you and the ground. When he got to the bar in the middle, Cove pulled himself up and then sat on the top of the bars. His legs dangled off the side of the bar he perched on. You joined him on the monkey bar as he stood nearby. You took a seat on the swing. I think I like the swing. You sat right down on the free seat and started swinging your legs. First slowly, but then you added more power to your kicks. Air rushed past your face and ruffled your hair. You built up enough momentum to let it carry you. It was a very lazy arc, not high or fast. Perfect for having a conversation. But guess what? He smiled broadly and raised an eyebrow. He's not here. Right, it was true. There wasn't a single sign of Jeremy. Looks like it was just going to be the two of you tonight. Cove hung his head and groaned dramatically. Your eyes widened when he whipped his head back up.
No way.
I can't believe how dumb my parents are forcing me to come to this stupid place. You were taken aback and blinked for a second before you realized he was quoting Jeremy. Oh. Don't scare me like that. One Jeremy is enough. That's not nice. Funny, but not nice. You don't have to tease him. Yeah, parents. I would say it's not nice. I don't think that was nice. Cove tried to look contrite, but ended up chuckling instead. He looked around the old park. The streets knew like the back of your hand, and the beach. These were your stomping grounds. You wondered how Cove actually felt. How much was his joke just a joke, and how much was sincere dislike of this place? Moving had never been his choice. Do you actually like this neighborhood? I know you don't think it's dumb. You let the silence stretch between you two. Will be silence. He ended it. I don't blame Sunset Bird for my problems. You stared at him. Cove kicked his legs carelessly as they dangled. He smiled softly. I like it here. I really do. It's a nice place. He didn't hesitate. There was no uncertainty. That was his genuine opinion. Yeah, I like it too. At least one person likes it here. You know, let's nod. A contented feeling fell between the two of you. Why are we still out here? It didn't take long for the day to finally draw to a close. The sun was gone, and it was dark. He chatted a while longer, but it was definitely winding down. We'd better get home. I wish days were longer. You chose not to say it. We'll be silent again. He sat in the darkened silence. Cove shifted positions so that his back was on the monkey bars and he could look up at the stars. He wondered how comfortable that could be. I could just imagine they've been sitting here for 3 hours and they have not talked. Like, they did not say a single word to each other within the 3 hours. Look at the moon, it's so clear tonight. He glanced up and saw a great gibbous moon swelling over the sky. A few clouds covered the sparkling stars above. Too bad we can't stay here forever. Cove sighed. It was time to go home. He hopped down from the monkey bars with a thump when his feet hit the ground. He stopped moving her legs and stood when the swing slowed down. The chains rattled and the swing smacked into you a bit, its energy not entirely spent. Cove grabbed his surfboard and drew his towel around his neck. With his water bottle in hand, he was ready. You both began your trek up the road. It was quite quiet night and you didn't run into anyone else. In what felt like no time at all, you had reached your street. As he walked, Cove smiled to himself. It was a soft expression and he couldn't help but wonder what put it there.
Cove?
I just remember when we were younger, it used to be such a big deal to come home after dark. You could indeed recall if you got sandy, your parents would have something to say. If you got wet, your parents would have more to say. And if you came home after dark, well, your moms and dad better have said it was okay beforehand. You used to need permission for everything. The small comment he made exposed just how much freedom you really had this summer. Cove looked up into the sky. A smile stole on his face as the two of you walked side by side, reminiscing. When you came to your houses, you turned to each other. See you later, Bert. Bye, it was nice seeing you. Yup, it was definitely an tourist experience for the awesome day. Bye. Cove waved, and you both turned around to your respective houses. This was a pleasant end to the outing, you thought. Oh, that was nice. Okay. Let's keep growing. Early one afternoon, you found yourself in the living room with your family. It was another one of those summer days where it felt too hot to go outside, but it was too uncomfortable to do anything inside either. The air conditioner was cranked up as far as you could negotiate it, but everyone was still being pretty lazy. You and your moms and sister were lounging around while the TV blared on in the backdrop, ignoring by all of you. You specifically were lying spread eagle on the carpet, sitting cross-legged on the floor, perched on the arm of the couch draped over the coffee table. The surface had been nice and cool to the touch at first, but now your skin was sticking to it. Elizabeth broke the silence with a loud groan. You glanced over. She was lying on her back over the couch, massaging her calf with one hand.
I feel terrible. I'm dying in this house and my legs hurt.
Mom looked up from the magazine she'd barely been flipping through and frowned concerned.
Could you have strained them somehow?
Elizabeth filled briefly, then flopped onto your side with a heavy sigh.
I don't know, it just hurts.
Oh, sweetheart.
Ma got up from her seat at the kitchen table and walked over to your sister. She did a light pat on Elizabeth's shoulder sympathetically.
I'm sorry you have to deal with that. Maybe it's growing pains. You could be taller by next fall.
Elizabeth scoffed. She didn't look impressed by Ma's assessment.
I'd rather be my height forever than deal with this.
Mom walked over to leaning against the back of the couch.
Kids, they grow up so fast. Soon Elizabeth will have a home of her own, maybe even with a nice husband and some kids if she feels like it.
She sniffled loudly and wiped at her eye, but you could tell that it was just a bit. You tilted her head. Even though you knew Elizabeth liked guys, it was hard to imagine her with a boyfriend or husband. She only seemed invested in hanging out with her group of friends, not chasing after boys. Mom must agree with you because she shook her head.
Let's not exaggerate, she's still practically a child. But if you ever do pursue romance, Elizabeth, you can come talk to me about it.
Definitely, we're always willing to lend in here.
Elizabeth's features contorted in disgust.
No way, I am not talking to my moms about that.
Mom's jaw dropped as she gasped in an exaggerated display of shock. Her hand came up to rest against her chest. Ma only grinned. She didn't look offended by Elizabeth's quick response at all.
It really wouldn't be so bad to come to us. I know what it's like to have a crush on a pretty boy or two.
I don't, but I can listen anyway. Oh,
Mom snorted at her own joke, while Ma just burst into giggles. They were having a little too much fun at Elizabeth's expense. Elizabeth certainly wasn't feeling the amusement because she rolled her eyes and sat up.
I'm going back to my room. Rather melt alone, thanks.
She strode off towards the staircase, taking the steps two at a time. Your mom stared after her, then turned to each other with raised eyebrows.
Whoops, looks like we scared her off with that romance talk.
Oh well, we'll get her next time.
You watched with the titter with some surprise. Obviously, your mom's like women, but you had no idea that Ma liked guys too. Today was the first time you'd heard her say something like that.
Ma, you like guys and girls?
Ma turned to you, happy to bring you into things now that you'd spoken up. She smiled and nodded.
That's right, I like both. But I like your mom most out of everyone. She's special.
Ma's smile turned all soft in corners like it usually did when she looked at her. She pinched mom's cheek lightly. Mom reached a hand over Ma's. Even when Ma stopped pulling her cheeks, their hands remained clasped together.
Thanks, Lanny. I think most women have charm, but no one can hold a candle to you.
Pamela.
Ma beamed, then kissed Mom on the cheek she'd been pinching before. You laughed at their antics. You thought the moment was sweet. You cringed, but I would cringe, honestly. Cringe. You slouched down as if that would hide you from sight. Why were parents like that? Ma looked back to you, letting Mom's hand go with a brief squeeze. She settled down next to you, and Mom followed soon after.
You know, I'm also here to listen to you whenever you're ready. The offer isn't just for you, Elizabeth.
I have no one in mind. She bumped her shoulder with yours, a reassuring smile in place.
There's no rush, of course. You can talk to all the time. Take all the time you need to figure out who you want.
It's okay.
Don't think you have to stick with whatever you come up with right now either. Life's nice like that. It can change and you can learn.
Mom nodded her agreement.
The two of us are happy to hear you out, and we may be able to relate better than you think. Still, we won't push the topic, at least most of the time.
She gave Ma the weakest, scathing look possible while being unable to stop grinning. thinks, not silently, she shrugged. You don't have to worry about it. I already passed on all that, you shrugged. He had no idea what you'd take them up on that, or if you would ever. Mom let out another exaggerated sniffle. It didn't take a genius to realize it was fake.
First Elizabeth and now you, Bert. Do you have to grow up?
Yes, children tend to do that from time to time.
Your parents quickly grew absorbed in their conversation about rearing kids. You took that as your cue to leave, getting up so you could spend some time alone in your room too. They let you go without a problem, so you made your way up the stairs. You let out a sigh once you stepped into your room. It was just as sweltering in there as it was in the living room, possibly even a little warmer. You couldn't even open your window since it was hotter outside, and you just let out the AC out. You dragged your feet as you crossed the room. You checked your current sweltering condition in the mirror as you passed by it. You thought back to the conversation you'd had downstairs about growing up and all that. After a moment, you stepped a bit closer to the mirror. You stared into it, then turned away from the surface to look down at yourself. You were definitely growing, alright. It was weird thinking about how you were now in comparison to what you'd been when you were younger. When it came to your body, it was getting some muscle definition nowadays. I don't really care. Scrawny, we're scrawny. You shifted to the side, your head still facing forward, and continued the self-evaluation from this viewpoint. At birth, you were assigned female, and you were assigned male. Both intersex, female. Your chest was flat now, but you would likely change at least as even to not have breasts through spot. You tried to imagine what your adult self might be like. You reach over and massage your scar with one hand. Oh yeah, we have a scar, staring intently at it in the mirror. But now, you knew that it was there to stay. You took a step backwards, finished with your impromptu inspection. You locked eyes with your reflection, cocking your head to the side, all things considered. You thought you looked fantastic, you thought you looked bad, neutral, you had no idea how to feel, self-conscious. It took you a moment to realize that you were frowning at yourself. You glanced away from the mirror. You shook your head roughly, putting thoughts of what you were turning out of your mind. This wasn't the time to focus on such things. You had to find something to do in this heat. You shuffled over to your bed, collapsing onto the mattress, your brow scrunched up in thought. Time passed slowly, and to your annoyance, possible ideas about what to do were few and far between. You weren't sure how long it had been, but eventually you heard your mom call you downstairs.
Bert! Cove will be coming over soon. Just letting you know.
You frowned in confusion. Why is Cove coming? But you didn't bother complaining. It'd been decided already.
Okay.
With a sigh, you pushed yourself off your bed and headed downstairs. Might as well, since you would be there in a few minutes. You needed to go downstairs soon anyway, because your empty stomach told you it was almost time for lunch. Just as you reached the bottom of the stairs, you saw Mom put the phone back on the receiver. She glanced at Ma, her mouth opening to say something. When she caught sight of you, she blinked in surprise.
Oh, hi, kiddo. I didn't mean you needed to calm down right this second. If you want to wait for him here, though, that's great. We'll get out of your way.
Have fun.
You and Cove have fun, alright?
With that, your moms made their way down the hall. You heard the floors creak until they reached their room on the other side of the house. Now you were alone in the living room, tasked with waiting for Cove. You weren't exactly thrilled to have to face Cove so suddenly, but you were used to it by now. You knew what he wanted this time. Oh, who knew what he wanted this time? Sorry. You took a seat at the kitchen counter and settled in for the wait. As expected, there was a knock on the door a few minutes later. When you got up and answered it, your neighbor was standing on the other side. He came in once you stepped aside to let him pass, giving a little wave. You returned to his wave with a half-hearted one by your own before you closed the door behind him. Cove sighed and wiped at his face a bit. You noted the sheen of sweat cross his brow. He must be glad to be back in an air-conditioned place, even if he only had to walk across the street to get there. It must be obvious that you were confused by his visit, because he answered your unspoken question. It's too hot to do anything, but my parents don't think so. It's like they don't even notice. I figured coming here would mean I could just sit. Your mom said it was okay.
Oh, alright, I can I can get that.
If your mom's insistent on doing activities in this heat, you'd want to make a quick escape too. Thankfully, you weren't immune to the weather like Cove seemed to be. Were you doing something?
Not really. I just need to get lunch soon.
I haven't eaten anything today. Would it be alright if I had lunch too? You thought about it briefly before lightly nodding.
I guess it should be fine.
As one, you headed to the kitchen. You crossed your arms as you glanced around, wondering what you should scrounge up for a meal. I don't want to eat anything that's warmed up. Is there anything cold or not cooked? Why?
Yeah?
After a bit of back and forth, the two of you concluded that you should raid the fridge and cabinet in order to make sandwiches. With that settled, you had planned to decide on the outside layers first. There was a wide variety to choose from since everyone in your house had your own favorites. There was a white bread, wheat bread, sourdough, mixed grains, gluten-free bread, and peanut pockets. Could you take the grain one for me?
Sure.
You reached for the mixed grains, then made your decision. Lettuce wrap. I like the lettuce wrap. You went to the fridge to get the lettuce wrap too, setting both items into the counter. Then you had to decide what main direction the sandwich would go in. You wanted to make a truly savory style. Why is this the only choice, bruh? Something savory would make it feel like a real meal. As for the specific ingredients... Oh, whoa, let me save here. I could get bigger than these Chinese choices if I want. Tofu. Mozzarella. Avocado. Lettuce. Hummus. I don't remember what hummus tastes like, but I think that would taste yummy. Cucumbers. Pepper jack cheese. All the cheese. I'm sure there are more meat choices here. I don't know. No egg salad. Red onions? I like onions. Let's use red onions. Then you move to the condiments. For the furnishing touch, you intended to top your sandwich with mustard, no, non-mustard, ranch, salt and pepper, hot sauce, pesto, and mayonnaise. You nodded to yourself with a quiet hum, satisfied. This is gonna taste terrible. The two of you bustled around the kitchen, opening and closing things in order to collect everything you needed for your individual sandwiches. You focused intently on assembling your own, for the most part. When you were close to being done, though, you glanced over to your neighbor. Cove was putting his sandwich together delicately, his brow furrowed and tongue sticking out just barely. There were open jars of peanut butter and honey near his plate, as well as a banana peel. A banana peel, what? As he was making a peanut butter, banana, and honey sandwich on mixed grain bread. That sounded great. You didn't think that much of that. Weird, that's weird. You would have done at least some things differently. Curiosity satiated you, turned back to your plate and finished your own creation. By the time you were done, Cove had already cleaned up his workstation. He turned to face you, studying your sandwich briefly. He gave it an incredulous look, but didn't question you about it. Good. Done. He thinks it's so weird.
Yeah.
Cool.
He waited as you quickly returned to the ingredients and cleaned a few utensils. Then the two of you collected your respective plates. You both agreed on heading upstairs to hang out in your room. You and Cove entered your bedroom while balancing your food on the plates. Nothing fell, so it was a successful trip. Cove took a seat on the ground, stretching out the hardwood floor in an attempt to keep a bit cooler. He immediately took a big bite of the sandwich, chewed, and then hummed happily. This sandwich is really good, at least that's something. At this point, you sat down and started on your own sandwich. He nodded, you were enjoying yours, he shrugged, it was terrible. Unfortunately, you were having regrets about the concoction you created. He leaned back on his hands while chewing and glanced around. His every movement was sluggish. Dude, I feel like I'm making Bert a girl play earlier. I feel like I'm making her like that. I'm sorry, Bert. Wanna do something? It seemed the plan of not doing anything at all had already worn thin, despite his lack of enthusiasm. Yeah, like what? Maybe, not really. I can't muster a reply. Cove took your non-answer as a sign to brainstorm. He rolled his head back, looming up at the ceiling. What about tic-tac-toe? You laughed at the suggestion but went along with it. Yeah, neither of you had much energy for something more taxing. You grudgingly humored it. You thought it was a nice idea, sure, why not? You put all your plate to the side and pulled out some markers and scrap paper. As you laid everything on the floor, you scooted back to make more room in front of you. Cove picked up one of the markers with his right hand while keeping a half slice of sandwich in his left. I wouldn't be X's, so you can go first. I think that's fair.
Okay.
You prepared to note down your first move, your marker hovering over the paper. Oh. Okay. What? Okay, then. After the first round, you were about to take another bite of your sandwich when a thought occurred to you.
I wonder if anyone turned off the TV downstairs. The TV was on earlier, but no one was really watching. Then everyone started leaving the living room. I know I didn't turn it off. It still might be on downstairs with no one there.
Cove smiled quickly at that. Or a show, playing with no one around to enjoy it. What was it? Squinting off in the middle distance, trying to recall the show's name.
I feel like it was some kind of crime-solving drama.
Cove nodded sleepily, his eyes closed and opened again with some effort. Can you give any specifics? Maybe I can guess it.
Well...
You rested your chin on your open palm, grudgingly thinking as hard as you could.
I remember there was a woman with long blonde hair, I think. She was the one solving crimes, like as a detective or something. There were scenes in the police station because someone got arrested.
You lapsed into silence, the both of you thoughtful. Then Cove chuckled. It wasn't that funny, but you joined the laughter anyway. I don't know what that is.
Me neither, and I just saw it.
Oh, crap! You got me. Another round came and went, and Cove grumbled as he readjusted himself. His features were twisted in a grimace. I feel so sticky. I'm gonna be stuck to the floor forever now. I'll have to charge you for rent then. You can be my new roomie if you want. Looks like we'll both be stuck here forever. Then I'm sticky too. No way, I'll pull you off. You just smiled. And he's whining. He smiled. It was always funny to hear Cove be so dramatic. You smiled to yourself. Then you returned to the game. Crap. Cove spoke up once more, catching your attention. He was peering down at the piece of paper between you and his expression together. You know, tic-tac-toe is such a weird name for a game. What does it even mean? Maybe they named it with that because people played it with tic-tacs? I've always wondered about that. I have to look it up later. It's a really old game. No one's sure what it means. I want to look it up later. Maybe I'll do that too. That said, the two of you turned your attention back to the game. I win! I win! Fuck you, Cove! I won! Oop, you won. Oh, yeah, I won.
Did you try to win?
Not really. He smiled at you in an amused way. You somehow weren't surprised by that, despite Cove being the one who suggested the game in the first place. He started to yawn, his hand coming up to the cover of his mouth. He quickly transitioned to a small laugh. You understood why. Yawning just as he said he was feeling disinterested was kind of a funny coincidence. You laughed along with Cove. Well, you should have taken the challenge more seriously. You're the one who wanted to play in the first place. I'm still wondering you're the loser. You shook your head at him. Cove just grinned and flopped into his back, leaving his marker on the floor beside him. You followed Cove's lead and laid down on your back, your hands resting on your stomach. The two of you stayed like that for a while, silent. There wasn't much else to say, and neither of you followed up to another game after that. Time passed, you even dozed off for a bit, despite the hot weather and uncomfortable hardwood floor underneath you. Finally, the blazing sun began to set. To your relief, the air cooled down a bit as a result. You pulled yourself off the floor, as did Cove, with some minor complaint. You both stretched your arms, groaning, and yawned into your hands. You glanced out your window briefly, taking it in the soft hands, pinks and purples of the late afternoon sky. Somehow you had made it through the scorching hot day in one piece. Cove turned towards you, rubbing the back of his neck. Thanks for letting me stay here, over. You nodded, giving him a tight smile. Cove also looked out the window, noting the sun's descent. I should probably go home now. Bye.
Bye.
Then he simply walked out of your room and made his way downstairs while you followed close behind. You needed to get out of your room anyway so you could grab something to drink. Cove made it that way and made it to the front door hall, then glanced over his shoulder at you. He waved. You waved back, watching as he opened the front door and left. You let out a small breath. You felt pretty good in the moment. Looking back, it could have been a lot worse. Ooh, okay. Ooh, dinner. Let's do dinner. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room, your home phone pressed to your ear. Cove was on the other end. It'd been shaping up to an ordinary day, like any other, until Cove had called unexpectedly. He sounded unusually nervous greeting you. You listened silently as he kept talking. His words stilted. So I was just wondering, do you want to come over to my house for dinner tonight? The question came out strangely, almost like he'd reversed it a few times beforehand. Did your dad ask you to ask me? Your eyes widened a little. You hadn't expected this to be the reason behind the call. You kept listening. Cove continued. His next words sounded rehearsed too, and tinged with nervousness. My mom and dad, they really want you to be there. If your parents don't have a problem with it, they asked me to ask you. I wonder why they're so insistent of me particularly to be there. You took a moment to think. Dinner at home would be quiet and uneventful today. If you really wanted to, you could go to Cove's instead. Can you come over, I mean? Yeah, I can come. I'll have to ask my moms and get back to you. No, I can't make it. Why am I the only one invited? Yeah, why am I the only one invited? I'm just curious. The decision wouldn't be up to you if you wanted your entire family to attend. You'd have to ask your moms if they could make time in that case. Mom and Dad only mentioned you. The whole dinner thing is their idea. You pursed your lips, contemplating your answer. Alright, I'll go. Okay, I'll let them know when I can. Was it just you, or did he sound almost comforted by your response? You had to be imagining it. He spoke to you for a little while longer to explain what time to come over, and the other details then hung up. And that was that, for now anyway. Soon enough, the sun dipped out of the sky and evening came. It was time for you to head to Cove's house. After letting Elizabeth know you were leaving, she didn't look away from the TV, just grunted. You made a small journey across the street. You knocked a couple of times on the heavy door to your condo. As you waited for an answer, you found yourself contemplating being a guest while both of Cove's parents were there. It was exciting. It was very apprehensive. The idea made you curious. You didn't think it would be especially interesting. You couldn't say you were thrilled. Apprehensive. You didn't know what to expect from this dinner party. You didn't get just much time with your thoughts though. The door opened soon enough. Cove's mom, Kyra, stood in the frame, smiling warmly at you. Hey Bert, welcome. Please come on in. She opened the door wider and moved to make room. You stepped inside, allowing her to shut it behind you. Thanks so much for coming over. I know it was kind of last second.
It's alright, thanks for inviting me.
Of course, just make yourself at home. It's not my home, but I've been given permission to say that. Hey Bert, welcome to your humble abode. You jerked your head towards the sound of Mr. Holden's voice. He waved at you briefly from the kitchen, with his back turned and a large spoon in hand. Hope you're hungry, because I'm whipping up a lot of tasty stuff. True to his word, you heard something sizzling on the stove. You closed your eyes and inhaled. It smelled spicy and savory. With Mr. Holden busy and Cove nowhere to be seen, it was just you and Kyra. She gave you a wry smile. He sure is. Well, I've been barred from cooking the entire time. I'm staying here. Can you believe that? She nudged you with an elbow. Mr. Holden scoffed good-naturedly, then spoke from over his shoulder. You're on vacation, Kyra. You need to accept that already. She yelled back, amusement obvious on her face and in her tone. People still cook when you're on vacation. Everyone's gotta eat. It's not like I'm some celebrity who can go out for every meal or hire a private chef. Well, in this house, you're an VIP. Kyra smiled and shook her head quietly. Then she turned to face you once more. Sorry about that, Bert. Here, I was trying to strike up a conversation with you, and Cliff just had to butt in. I don't butt in. She eyed him, chuckling in disbelief. He wasn't exactly disproving her point with that. Kyra leaned over to whisper to you. It's okay, he likes to be included, but since Clifford insisted on cooking all by himself, he'll have to wait, the two of us can chat. Her next question continued to be said in a hushed tone, just to be safe. So, how are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm good. Things are okay. I'm not really sure. You didn't reply to her question. I'm good. Kyra didn't seem to convinced by your awkward phrasing, but she nodded anyway. She opened her mouth to say something more, but some lightly pounding footsteps caught your attention. You checked to see Cove emerge from the hall a few minutes later. He might have heard all the commotion and left his room to see what was going on. He quickly took stock of the situation. Oh, hey bird. Cove's greeting was stilted. More so than usual, you noticed that he didn't make eye contact with his mom or dad. Though the two of you weren't close, you could tell he felt uncomfortable by this whole entire situation. You'd known him long enough to realize that.
Hi.
You left it at that. You didn't think he would appreciate you asking him about it, especially not in front of his parents. It was when you glanced away from Cove that he spotted his parents watching the two of you interact. Cove noticed their stares too, meeting them with narrowed eyes. Are we having dinner now? Not yet, bud. I'm still cooking. Alright, I'm gonna go back to my room. Before you could make an escape, Kyra spoke up. Bird, why don't you go with Cove? I'm sure you'd rather spend time with him. Cove's lips thinned, clearly annoyed at his mom inviting you to his room. You assumed he would protest it, but come on. The words were quiet, though. They were definitely directed at you. Dude, if we were in a romance route, the parents would definitely be our best wingmans. You suppose that he'd rather hang out with just you than spend time with his parents right away. Go on, Bert. You don't have to stay out here doing nothing. Well, it looked like you didn't have much of a choice, so you nodded in the affirmative. Cove turned fully and made his way down the hall. Have fun, you two. We'll call you when food's ready to go. With that, you followed after Cove. The two of you made your way down the hall. This was the first time you were invited to see Cove's room. This first time. Cove got to the door first, opening it and stepping inside. You joined him. There was a man on the floor in front of the door. As he stepped over the threshold and to his room, you felt the crunch of sand beneath your feet. You glanced down. Sand was clustered around the entrance. You even spotted smaller amounts of it dusting the rest of the room's floor. Though you hadn't anticipated it, you weren't surprised at the sight. Of course, Beach Boy Cove Holden would get his room all sandy. Hold on. Okay. Let me lower the sound a bit. Okay. So this is my room. Cove was a bit shy as he said so, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt, using one hand and vaguely gesturing to the space of the other. There's stuff you can sit on if you want. He looked over at the desk chair as an option. When he turned back, Cove was already sitting on the edge of his large bed. Are you trying to make your own beach with all the sand? It's nice, thanks for letting me come over. You weren't sure what to do. I'm not sure what to do. I don't know what to do. You glanced around the room again, just so it looked like you were doing something. You really don't have to keep standing. I know that. Didn't sit anywhere. Let's just stand awkwardly. You moved in front of the open bookcase situated in one corner of Cove's room. When Cove realized you weren't going to sit, he raised an eyebrow but didn't push the topic. With the silence growing, your gaze began to drift. You stared at the bright fish swimming in the tank. Ooh, fish.
Yay, fish! Yum, 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 yum.
There was a bunch of them, floating to and fro in the open space. They stood out starkly against the green aquarium plants.
How long have you had those fish?
My dad bought them for me not very long ago after I moved here. I guess it's been years now.
Wow, that's a long time.
You peered carefully into the tank. The fish looked to be doing well. He must take good care of them. Most of them were small, but there was one especially big one.
What are their names?
I don't name them. No, not really. He lifted an eyebrow at that. He continued the explanation sheepishly. Mostly I just call them things based on what they look like. Squirt for a small one. Tangerine for a really orange one, sort of thing. You should pick better names. I have a lot of fish, but I'm not that good at coming up with names. I can help you. You found that really, you found that surprising, you found that funny. Funny! Haha! Who knew that was a weakness of his? It was an entertaining revelation. Oh, a couple of them have other types of names. He pointed to a small orangish red fish. It was minding its own business away from the others. My dad named her Dreamcatcher, and that other one's Mark. Mom came up with that one. Cove smiled to himself, his eyes reflecting the glow from the tank.
You let other people name your fish?
Yeah, it's nice. Can I call it? Yeah, I want to name a fish. You almost expected him to turn you down. Maybe he only let those close to him, like his parents named them. He shrugged and said, uncaring, sure. There's a few who don't have names right now, the newer ones. You can pick which one you want to name. He pointed each of the recent acquisitions out to you. The first was the smallest fish in the tank. It was completely orange and zipped all over the place, running laps around the others. The second was slightly bigger. I'll name my fish after you, go. Wait, he can name one fish after himself. He could do that. That could work. The second was slightly bigger and red. Its tail was dotted with black spots, which almost resembled freckles. The last fish was the biggest one. Its multicolored scales rippled under the bright light of the tank as it slowly made its way across the vast expanse. He went with Cove. Oh, wait. Ooh, do I want a small fish or big? I want a small fish. They're so cute. Cove only nodded at your answer, waiting on you to decide on a suitable name. You watched the fish you chose closely as you did. Name one after me. Cove Beth. Oh god. As he did, a name eventually came to you. Cove? Yes! We can do Cove! No, we're going with Cove. Cove laughed unreservedly at your choice. It was affectionate rather than insulting. What? You can't name it after me.
Why not?
Because I'm not gonna call my fish that. No, you have to now. You said it's too late. We name your fish. You said we can name your fish anyway.
But you still said I could pick it.
Cove shook his head with a bent smile. I'll call them Junior then. You can still call them Cove. Fine, okay, fine. It seemed like a good enough compromise, so you agreed. Cove nodded, satisfied. Alright, it's Cove. With that, his attention moved from you to the tank. He peered fondly at it and its inhabitants. He smiled proudly at Cove as it swam through the tendrils of the plants, disappearing them, then reappearing soon after.
You know, I'm not allowed to have pets in my house, not even fish.
The corners of Cove's lips turned down at that. That doesn't sound fair. It's not like fish would make a mess of your house or anything. You just gotta take care of their tank and feed them, and they'll be okay. Right, my moms can be strict about the weirdest things. Sometimes I don't mind it too much. I get it.
They don't want to worry more lives than the two they're already raising. That's what they say about it.
I never thought about it like that before. Even with fish? The current conversation brought to mind a memory from years ago. It started coming out with no warning, earning you a brief confused look from Cove.
One time, Lizzie, or Elizabeth, came back from playing at the beach and hid in her room. She came down for food and then she ran back upstairs after. It was hard to understand. Her moms left her alone at first. But that night, Mom went to her room to say goodnight, and she screamed. Mom and I went over to see what was wrong. We found Lizzie with a big lizard on her arms. Aw, cute lizard! Cove's eyebrows rose at that. He leaned forward in interest. A lizard, where'd that come from? Elizabeth said she saw it half buried in the sand and didn't know what it was. She picked it up to find out, and then she brought it home. She hid the lizard in her room for the whole day because she wanted to keep it. Mom and Ma were upset at her. They worried about putting it out during her nights, but she was going to have it to let it go in the morning. Lizzie was really sad. She did release the lizard, but she wouldn't talk to anyone for days. When she did stop being unhappy, it was almost like it never happened. She shook her head. Thinking back at the time, Elizabeth had always been stubborn, but when she was younger, she forgot grudges quickly. Now it was so easy. Cove had been quiet for most of the story, apart from the reveal of the lizard. He had a thoughtful look on his face.
I can't even imagine what it'd be like to have a sibling. You gave serious thought to your statement before you told him. It's fun, there are ups and downs, you're lucky to be an only child, it's a nice idea in general, but my sister is Elizabeth. I don't know how to explain what it's like. It has its ups and downs.
It's fun to have her there, but when she wants to be there. But now Elizabeth barely feels like hanging out with me.
Cove pursed his lips at the words, considering them quietly for a while. That's interesting. I think your family is cool. He didn't have much else to say, though. While on the topic of your family, he considered your relationship with your moms, too. They were absolutely the best. You got along with your moms. You thought your moms were okay. You found your moms difficult. We'll say... Okay, what would an angsty teen say? I think an angsty teen would say it's difficult to deal with. We're gonna be angsty. They had way too many rules and expectations for you, and they would get upset if you broke any of them, even though they didn't seem to have to follow any rules themselves. A thought struck you, and your attention suddenly settled back on Cove.
Yeah, my moms might not let Elizabeth or me have pets and stuff, but at least they never tried to pay someone to be my friend.
Oh, why are we mentioning this? Bert! Why are you saying that? He didn't say anything mean. The moment the words left your lips, you winced. Maybe you shouldn't have tried to joke about that. Why do you think that was a joke? Bert, no! Cove had been so hurt when he found out. Sure, it had been years since then, but that didn't matter. Cove placed his head in his hands and groaned. Okay, he's just embarrassed. I almost forgot about that.
Really?
No, not really. I'll never be able to forget that actually happened for the rest of my life. It's gonna humiliate me forever. Oh, now I'm really curious. What would have happened if we never said anything when we were a little kid, but then finally mentioned to him that, oh, yeah, your dad gave me a dollar bill and accepted or didn't accept. I'm really curious what would that look like in the playthrough. I'm really sorry about what happened, Cove. I'm sorry since I'm gonna bring it up forever. Yeah, I get what you did. Be embarrassed. You have to stay quiet. I'm gonna bring it up forever. A deep frown appeared on his lips and his eyes narrowed. I don't need you to remind me. Okay, maybe you took your teasing too far. It was clearly still a sore spot for him. The two of you lapsed into an easy silence. Time seemed to pass at a crawl. The two of you spent most of it without speaking a word. Cove flipped through the pages of a book he wasn't actually reading, while you tried to entertain yourself by looking around his room. Eventually, you heard a muffled holler from a different part of the house. You and Cove raised your heads in unison. It's time for dinner. Cove watched that firmly shut door. He had been locked behind the most of the night, but he didn't make a move to get up from the bed. You couldn't see his face, so you didn't know what expressions he was wearing. I'm glad you came. You raised your eyebrow, taken aback. You should probably say something, but you didn't know what. Cove said nothing else and remained sat where he was. Now would be as good a time as any to ask him why his parents so suddenly wanted you to come over. Is there a reason why you wanted yeah, what's the reason? Cove didn't say anything at first. He thought he wouldn't answer at all, only for him to speak up. It's been awkward here. Sometimes it is when just the three of us are together. That's probably why. You waited for more, but this time he didn't talk further. There was another shout from outside, too muffled to actually know the words, but you could imagine what they were. Let's go. Cole finally got up, lumbering away with his shoulders sagged. You followed after him. Together, the two of you made your way back to the living room. As you expected, Cove's parents were politely waiting for you at the kitchen table beside the windows overlooking the back of the house. Food had been prepared and set. Mr. Holden beamed at you, and Cove took your places.
I hope everyone's hungry. I cooked up a feast.
I know I am. Yeah. Cove's mumbled response wasn't nearly as upbeat as theirs. His parents didn't notice, or they pretended not to. Mr. Holden instead looked at you, grinning.
Let's all take a moment to thank your special guest for being with us here tonight. I'm so glad you were able to make it, Bert, and on short notice, too.
You thanked Cove's parents back for inviting you. You didn't say anything to that. You just felt awkward. You felt awkward. You gave a half-hearted response, similar to how Cove had. The feeling was apparently contagious in this atmosphere.
Well, that's it. Everyone dig in, please. You can help yourselves to the food.
Upon his encouragement, you looked over the meal spread out in front of you. There was a large garden salad in the center, surrounded by a variety of Mexican dishes. There were a lot of sides and optional sauces to add. Ooh, Mexican food. You were very happy about these options. You could work with this. Oh, I like no, obviously yes. You love Mexican food, and there were so many dishes to choose from. You were practically drooling. Utensils and plates scraped and clinked together as the group began filling their plates. Cliff, could you pass the salsa verde?
Course.
Thank you. Let me just say you really outdid yourself tonight. I'm so jealous.
Jealous of what? Your cooking's nothing to sneeze at, Kyra.
Cove's parents made a small talk, filling the silence with what seemed to be barely any effort. You weren't sure what to say, nor did you want to interrupt them by blurting something out. But without warning, Cove's parents started pulling you into the small talk.
Bert, do you want anything from my area of the table? Say the word and I'll hand it right over.
I'm good, Mr. Holden, thank you. But thank you.
You should try.
You should try some of the guacamole, Bert. It's been a while since I've had Cliff's, but I remember it being amazing.
You're too kind.
Brief silences interspersed the small talk. You piled some food on your plate, waiting for your turn if someone was serving themselves a dish.
You had your own.
Once the food had been divided and things settled down, Cove's parents started talking again.
Now then!
You sat up in your seat when you noticed they were both looking at you.
How has everything been over at the house? Are your moms well? You've been keeping busy this summer, or maybe you're just trying to take it easy during the break.
No, you felt overwhelmed by the sudden rush of Anne's questions. You were more than happy to answer. You were surprised, but you didn't mind the interest. Uncomfortable. You almost wanted to shrink under the table, just to get away from the expectant stares, but you didn't, obviously. You answered how things were at your house. You told them about your mom's doing. You mentioned things you'd done this summer. Summer. I'm not sure where to start. There's so much that happened. You should know what I've been up to since I haven't really done much.
Smart choice. Take it easy when you can. When I was around your age, busy work was the furthest thing from my mind.
You answered how things were at your house. Oh, and that was the answer to the question. Can someone say info overboard? Bert can't keep up with everything you're throwing out. Mr. Holden winced at the gentle reprimand, as if just realizing how rapid-fired his questions had been.
Oops, sorry about that, Bert. Guess it was a lot to take in at once, huh?
Did you know, Cliff, Bert is really into games? Mr. Holden's face lit up, and he stopped eating so he could lean forward, his arms braced across against the table.
Oh, that's right, very cool.
It's just a hobby and pretty serious about it. Oh, it's not a big thing. Oh, it's not a big thing. Don't downplay your interest like that.
Kyra's right, if you enjoy it, then it's definitely a big thing.
No.
Thanks.
Cove's parents were definitely the encouraging type, but you could already tell that much about them. There was a lull in the conversation as everyone focused their attention on their respective plates. You noted, not for the first time, that Cove's parents were the ones guiding the conversation. You wondered if you should break the silence this time. You brought up your own topic. You left coming up with a conversation topic to them. You brought up... This one? Mr. Holden was the one who spoke, glancing at his son before turning to you with an uneasy grin.
Speaking of hobbies, Cove has been hitting the books hard. He keeps telling me all kinds of things I've never heard of.
Cove looked uncomfortable by the conversation shifting to become about him. He sunk lower at his seat. The rest of the dinners continued just like that, with light conversation as you ate your meals. Eventually, all the dishes on the kitchen table were pretty much gone. Kyra set down her fork and rested her arms at her side, letting loose a satisfied sigh. Her plate was completely empty. That was delish. Thank you for your culinary creations, Cliff. Mr. Holden was like a flower soaking up the rays of the sun. He beamed, flattered by the praise. You ate way too much. You ate until you were satisfied. I would eat too much. You practically licked your plate clean. You were so full that you were afraid you might burst. Cove successfully kept his presence to a minimum for their full meal. He was slumped over and now toying with his silverware. His parents practically only talked to you. Most attempts to entice him to join the conversation failed. Then again, Cove didn't talk to a lot unless he happened to be in the mood for it, so you weren't surprised things ended up this way. He didn't get much time to contemplate Cove's situation because your attention was taken by Mr. Holden, pointedly clearing his voice.
Not to sound like a broken record, but thanks for coming, Bert. I'm glad we finally got the chance to have you over for a real dinner.
What? Did I hear that right? This is the first time Bert has ever had dinner here? Why in the world haven't you invited her over sooner?
Cove was always the one going over to Bert's house until now. I mean, how was I supposed to reject the generous offers of the Ernie family to host my kid?
Kyra shook her head, but the amused smile was sporting told you that she wasn't actually mad. This guy, honestly. With that, dinner finally came to an end. Mr. Holden stood up from the table and began collecting empty plates. Cove was asked to help out, which he did with a little fuss. Kyra tried to lend a hand as well, however, Mr. Holden didn't let her. It seemed she was barred from cleaning as well as cooking. You weren't allowed to chip in either, since you were there as a declared guest of honor. Although the meal was over, the night wasn't. It looked like you weren't going home just yet after all. You were asked to wait on the couch. While Cove and his dad were cleaning up in the mess, Kyra disappeared down the hall after shooting you a wink. It was a bit strange sitting by yourself while everyone else had something to do. Luckily, you weren't alone for too long. After a couple minutes, Cove's mom returned with a deck of cards in hand. She strolled into the room confidently while shuffling. So, who's up for the free rounds? Cove and his dad looked over their shoulders at the question. They were mutually intrigued by the cards in her hands. She beamed at their expressions and stepped further into the living room. Ignoring the couches, she sat cross-legged on the floor by the coffee table. She turned to you and gestured at the space beside her, smiling invitingly. You accepted and followed her lead. The living room carpet was soft, though the hardwood floor underneath could definitely still be felt. Kyra did an overhand shuffle while she waited for the others to finish their tasks. The smile had yet to leave her lips. This is going to be good. You were excited, you were nervous, you were bored. Let's be nervous. You got through dinner alright, but you didn't know how the rest of the evening would go. It didn't take much longer for Cove and his dad to wrap things enough to call it good. Cove's dad appeared first, followed closely behind my Cove. Mr. Holden rubbed his hands together in anticipation.
Alright, I'm ready.
As he took the seat across from you on the floor, you noticed that Cove hadn't joined him. Okay, I wonder if we didn't say cards, if we didn't say we liked cards to her, I wonder if she would have pulled out another game. He went straight down the hall instead, without even a word. You stared on the confused, and he disappeared through his bedroom door. Cove's parents didn't look concerned at the stunt. Kyra nonchalantly split the deck and cards in two, and riffled the halves together while offering an explanation of sorts. Cove doesn't keep his wallet with him when at home. He puts it away. Oh.
What?
Is this like gambling? Cove quickly returned to the living room, a black wallet in his hand. He took a place at the foot of the table with the rest of you. You blinked as Cove unzipped his wallet.
Do you bet real money on card games with your family?
While you sat there, her hands idle in your lap, the three shot looks at one another and sized each other up.
Yeah.
That's right, $5 per round per person, winner takes all.
Go big or go home.
Oh, are you planning on kicking Bert to the curb? Or do you intend on donating the guest of honor spot, Mr. High Roller? Mr. Holden narrowed his eyes and leaned back against the side of the couch, completely at ease. Dude, you're gonna steal money from a child? That's gonna be sad.
If Bert wants to play, I'll find her way in. Don't you worry about that.
He rested an arm across the top of a knee that he propped up. Cove's dad was acting slick in a way you'd never seen before. Appreciated his offer. He joked that he shouldn't be so confident. He felt awkward about the situation. You assuredly, and this was pretty appealing. You ignored it. Awkward. If you hadn't known about this beforehand, you could have grabbed some money you had stashed away or done something to prepare for this. Well, you've got your ticket interesting and throwing in. He glanced around. This seemed like serious business. In response to your consternation, Kyra softened her competitive smile. Don't worry too much. We'll probably just do some rounds of Go Fish tonight. No biggie.
What do you think?
Join in. You set your jaw and nodded at her. Mr. Holden gave you thumbs up, while Cove nodded firmly back. You were good at Go Fish, you were decent. You left it all to luck. You were always bad at Go Fish, you're bad. Do you grimace just thinking about the rotten luck you had? Fantastic. Well, play for however long everyone wants to keep going, or until people start running out of cash but are still refusing to quit while they are behind.
Speaking for yourself, I see.
With a laugh, Kyra nudged you using an elbow, then motioned towards the other two with her chin. Don't be fooled by their soft faces, these boys are sharks. In reaction to her words, Mr. Holden smirked and Cove's eyebrows became more angled. Kyra's phrasing made you think back to when you were young, specifically of Mr. Holden's favorite shark pants that he used to wear all the time. Perhaps that had been a fit for him in the ways you didn't know of. You could feel tension in the air. Cove and his parents glued their eyes on one another. They all placed $5 bills in an empty space in front of them. Mr. Holden dropped an extra one for you, giving you a grin after you did. Once this was done, Kyra began dealing out cards to everybody. It was time to begin. The first round came and went quickly, with the group getting into the groove of things. You lost. You meant you didn't have any money to add to the pot for another game. Well, I'll vouch for you this next round, Bert.
How generous, even though you lost your own bet already.
Kyra stuck her finger in Mr. Holden's chest. So did you, hotshot. Cove had been the one to claim this prize. Dang, come on. He was quietly pleased with himself while his parents jokingly ragged on each other. Kyra wasn't lying, the boys were sharks. I'll pay for it. Pass out another round. Fine. They answered in unison and got their heads back in the game. As the night went on, so did the games. Mr. Holden, who would jokingly shake his fist whenever someone other than him got a pair. Kyra acted as a news anchor, reporting on every move everyone made by speaking into her curled fist. Cove was still a few words, but now it was because he was focused on the game instead of being overcome with awkwardness. Most of the time, you even spotted a smile on his lips. He didn't win many of the games, but the others always chipped in for you. In fact, it was always a bit of a fight over who got to be your backer. It became clear that where the money went in the moment didn't really matter. They ended up giving it back to one another in other ways, and not just through more rounds of cards. Sit back, looking over the scene. A tiny smile grew on your face. Cove's family was pretty cool, he thought. You were glad you got this chance to come over to spend time with the three of them. Yay! Okay, family and then road trip. Let's do road trip. Even though you were awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon, and the sun above was still dark, though lightening by the minute. Okay, hold on. Let me just smooth myself for a bit. I'm just gonna get something real quick.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Usually you wouldn't be up as so early, especially during summer vacation, but today it was different. Today, instead of the lazy days you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity as both your family and Coves prepared for what lay ahead. Because you parked in the street just outside your house was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Cove's house behind it. His parents had rented the RV for a few days to take him on a short road trip to see the Redwood National Park. He glanced at Cove, who was standing nearby, taking in the scene in front of him. The prospect of the trip had to be a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed he was dealing with it as best he could. Your family joining them probably added to the muddled emotions. You weren't sure how exactly it had happened. You knew your parents and Cove spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way, plans remained after Cliff offered to share the space. The parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. You had already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in, and you had to admit that while it was a really big car, fitting that many people inside was going to be snug.
Move it or lose it, kiddo.
Mom bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water under the other. She was upbeat for the early in the morning. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed behind her wife, dragging her feet on every step.
I'm glad to need a whole jug of coffee once we hit the road.
You could relate to Ma. It was way too early. Personally, you were raring to go as your mom. It felt like you were in the middle ground. I want to go. You stretched your arms out and took in deep breaths. The air was still a little damp from dew, but you didn't mind it. And then at the end of the chain came your sister. She had a bone to pick before the trip officially started. Her rattling of critiques added some level of normalcy to everything new going on.
I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Bert is the youngest, and I'll never fall asleep in that loft.
We're trying to make things fair on everyone.
Hold on, I need to actually drink some water. Is it still the wave story that you selected earlier? No, this is the different... I already did the wave story a long time ago, so now I'm on the road trip story. Oh.
If you want to play the older card, you should be offering to take the loft both home nights. It's important for big siblings to make sacrifices for their younger ones.
Okay. Elizabeth huffed, not happy with the answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning back against the side of the RV. Trip plans had been nailed down prior, the sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth still held on to her objections with them. There was a main area of the RV with a couch loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed, Kara was on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. Oh yeah, Koph's coming with us, I guess. The adults determined you and Elizabeth would switch between the small loft of the driver's seat and sharing the bed with moms. You were fine with the arrangements. You were excited to sleep in the loft. You felt sharing your bed with your parents was going to be awkward. You were looking forward to sleep over with your moms. You weren't too happy about it either, but then you thought it was unfair that Koph had to sleep on the floor. No, I'm not happy. You knew you'd have to deal with the arrangements just like everyone else did.
Alright, you lot, does everyone have everything they need?
We're heading out in 5 minutes. Now's the time to double check. You don't want to forget something important.
At the word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back in the house, her bed head hair bouncing behind her as she went. Ma came over and gave you a smile, setting her hands on her hips.
How about you, Bert? Do you have all your clothes packed, toiletries, deodorant, floss, anything else you can think of?
You were confident you had all, you weren't sure about it. Oh, you had to run back inside. You just gave her a flat look. Flat look. You weren't 8 years old anymore. You were 13 and more than capable of remembering what to bring on the trip. We're gonna forget something for sure.
Alright, I like to fuss.
Ma laughed softly and ruffled your hair before she walked off. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over what you had packed for the trip. Clothes, a pillow, and blanket, usual day-to-day gear for most people. You almost had more personal things such as portable gaming oh my gosh, a lot. Okay, you had to be prepared in case you saw something to sketch at the park, or if you had to write anything down, or if you needed to pass time just for doodling. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Everything. Let's just pick everything. I'm not gonna read this. Because I'm gonna pick everything and I don't want to read everything. A ball, an MP3 player. Yeah, I think this takes place in the 2000s. That's what I'm getting at. And that was everything else. Oh, Kyra's coming with us, is she? Hey, let me take that for you, Bird. I'll stow it in the RV. There's a few spots left. It'll fit. You let Kyra take your bag and gave her a grateful smile. With nothing left to do, you watched the others getting ready for the trip. Kyra and Cliff seemed to have the most energy of anyone. They were finishing packing the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartments of the vehicle. Even though your own parents were more low-key than Cove's, you could tell that they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been away anywhere together. Elizabeth skipped towards the RV, a bag slung over her shoulder, and you were surprised to see she seemed more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually she wasn't the one to exit the confines of her room unless it was for TV, or food, or to leave her family behind to be with friends. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 others would be too much for her. But it was a nice surprise. You supposed any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. Cove had been pretty quiet so far and, more than anything, seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. You were excited for this trip. You weren't excited for the trip either. You were eager to get to the destination. You were eager. You'd been looking up at the park online and couldn't wait to explore everything it had to offer. Soon the miscellaneous remaining tasks had all been wrapped up. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. And it did. Cliff took the first shift driving. He cautiously navigated the massive car out of the narrow neighborhood streets. It was touch and go for the first part of the journey. Your moms and Kyra were all huddled at the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit, and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. The mom group cleared out of the driver's area, leaving Cove's dad to it, taking more comfortable seats around the main cabin. You felt like you could finally relax now, too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Okay, I gotta... So... Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, fix the thing on my computer. Before you realize it, the engine of the RV came to stop, but only halted for a few moments as Cliff climbed out from the driver's seat and Mom took over. Mom was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial on the controls as it was her first time driving anything this large. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of you, stretching his arms above his head and loosening up his muscles.
We're making good progress.
Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you just did, and I know you're on less sleep than usual. Cliff waved a hand, the trademark grin of his slipping into place.
I don't need sleep. I've still got a few miles in the old tank.
He flexed an arm, showing off his muscles to drive the point above how resilient he was home, and Kyra rolled her eyes in amusement. Dad, everybody has to sleep. Cove shook his head at the tough guy act, though Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair.
So,
Are you sure? Are you going to be driving in this anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I want to know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There's no seatbelts up here.
Elizabeth called back down where she was lounging in the loft above the driving compartment. She was laying on her back, her hair falling over the side and swinging around as the RV started up again and took off down the road. A bag of potato chips was balanced on Elizabeth's stomach, and she tossed a couple in her mouth right as Cliff held a hand into his chest. Pretending to be offended by the remark, Kyra laughed lightheartedly. Lucky for all of us, we have enough adults to cover the shifts today. He won't be driving again until tomorrow. You stayed quiet, you shook your head at the rubbing. Phew, that's a relief. Just enough time to write up my last will and testament. You should then gang up on the poor guy. If it's not he's driving, I'm worried. We shouldn't do that.
Thank you, at least someone here is on my side.
Mom then shouted back in her seat to join the conversation, a playful smile tilting her lips. What I'm worried about is that the whole monster... What I'm worried about is that the old monster getting us there and back again before falling us apart. Oh god, I kind of forgot her voice. Hold on.
It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. It must be older than some of the occupants.
That's just the aesthetic of the decor. It's not that old, I think. Oh, hold on, I do these. Okay. Did you ask what the model was before you rented it? Kyra wrinkled her nose and thought. Yes, I did. I just can't remember what the answer was. Cliff chuckled at her, while the rest of you let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed, and you held onto the ladder to the loft to keep your balance. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on her pink hair. When you tilted your chin up carefully to look, you heard the rustling of the bag of chips and realized Elizabeth had rested the end of it on your hair. Bro, what are you doing? She gestured to the opening, silently offering to share her snack. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, is this a trick? Reaching up, you scooped up some chips. After the weight of the packet left your scalp, you happily munched away as the conversation continued on, and you got closer and closer to your destination. Okay, so that wasn't a trick. She was actually offering us chips. The day flew by, with a group of you chatting, playing games, and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Ma was closing the windows while everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way to the back room. You had all had dinner together while still driving, and some hours after you had arrived at your destination and found a spot to park in for the rest of your stay. Giving a look across the front of the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off where they were, with Cove having completely fallen asleep curled up on the passenger seat. He must have done so while Kyra was driving the last leg, and they had decided not to disturb him. Kyra herself was the only one up there who was still awake, flipping through the magazine next to a portable light from her spot on the couch. It seemed Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. You followed your moms back into the back room and closed the door behind you before crawling onto the bed between them. It was a queen-sized bed, so there was enough space for the three of you together without too much squishing.
Get a good rest, Bert. We've got a big day ahead of us tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to the bushwalk in the morning. It's been a long day since I was out in nature like this.
There will be plenty for us to see.
You stayed awake for a while longer when your moms whispered about the park and forest in general. With the sound of their voices in the background, eventually you nodded off to sleep. The next morning, you were bright up and early, preparing for the day ahead. You had to sleep well. You had slept terribly. There hadn't been enough room for you to spread out or readjust your position. The mattress was uncomfortable, and it became hot with two other people next to you. Mom whined a bit about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom had only encouraged her to enjoy the chips while she could. While looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding a space of your own as the others were doing the same thing. Cove was perched on top of the counter, brushing his hair and tucking up his legs every time someone wanted to move past. The parents were checking, double-checking, and triple-checking that you had everything, to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. You knew you wouldn't be returning to the RV at all the day, but by the look of the backpacks, they were packed up and ready to go. You doubted anything was missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV in the bustle and headed into the Redwood National Park. Wow. Cove had his head tilted up towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide as he took the massive trunks on either side of you. You knew that the redwood trees were considered the tallest trees on Earth, but you weren't prepared for exactly how huge they would be in person. Ooh. Smiley too. You spun just in time for Kyra to snap a picture of you and Cove together before she pointed her camera at Cliff, trying to get a shot despite his weak protests that she should be enjoying the moment. Your parents were walking behind the group a little, with Mom telling Ma some information she had read about the park on a brochure. Ma listened happily while looking around and taking in the sights, every now and then asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. He smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of pamphlets to know so much about the park.
Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide if you know so much about the place.
Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but you thought that might be because she was amused by everyone else's reactions. You're in all the woods, trees. You were fascinated by the sensations surrounding you. You were in a good mood. You weren't as impressed as the others. You were embarrassed that the adults were being so touristy. Let's be embarrassed. A few other people crossed your path as you walked along, and every time you tried to separate yourself from the group more and more, becoming increasingly embarrassed by their overexcitement, the adults had decided on some casual nature walks, rather than any serious hiking, and you strolled along at your own pace and taking in the scenery. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she fell into a place between the two of you, and immediately you could tell by her expression she was gonna say something taunting.
I can't believe our families were actually on vacation together.
She threw her arms out, speaking with a genuine sense of bewilderment.
I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not sure I wanna give them any more ideas.
Cove spared her a look, but said nothing and instead continued walking along.
Just watch, next year they'll be talking about their new amazing idea.
She put up a fake voice deeper than her own.
We should sell both our houses and move in together. Think of how we'd save on the mortgage.
It was clear that Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove simply shook his head, not really bothered by her. He supposed he was used to it by this point.
But seriously, they really do act like we're a single family, just because we live across the street from each other.
You know, you see, they're doing this, so they're planning us, and then Cove to get together. They're starting plans. They're starting plans. That's why they're doing these family events, so Bert and Cove can get together, and that's why they're acting like a family. Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glinting with mischief as she leered at you.
Maybe one day we will all be related legally anyway.
Oh, never mind. No, don't joke about that. She said it as though she was a gossipy old lady. I don't know why me and Bert always get paired up for those kinds of jokes. There's no law saying you have to marry someone your own age. Anybody could say me and you are the ones who will get married one day. Ugh! Yeah, no, I don't ship it. They cut it out already. Cove has a point. It wasn't a great comment. Embarrassed. Wait, no, let's ignore. You said nothing, choosing to let your sister prattle on to her heart's content. You knew from years of experience that the best way to annoy Elizabeth was by not giving her any attention at all.
Are you even listening? Did you say something?
She huffed at you for that moment, one. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. You passed a few different activities and you would have liked to try out if you had the time, such as kayaking and rock climbing, but Ma said that would have to wait for another time. There was a little stream during the walk that you sat beside and set a picnic of lunch, nibbling on a selection of fruit sandwiches and chips. Various birds flew by overhead and you made the game out of guessing the species that were hanging out in the trees nearby. You even managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher, and grabbed half of Cliff's sandwich. You were glad you got to do this in Fran. You're disappointed to only have one day in the park. You thought the long trip wasn't worth only. Hey, you were having more fun hanging out in the RV. You had a good time with this trip. Glad to do this. It was definitely a special experience and one you'd remember for a long time to come. You smiled to yourself, committing the sights and sounds to memory. Your group made it back to the camp just as the sun was setting in the sky and the stars were appearing one by one. Everyone had enjoyed different parts of them most. You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner. Then afterwards, you pitched in to help clean up. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, got to head back to the RV early and spend some time together while the parents stayed outside longer. It was nice to have the space to yourselves after the cramped journey there, and while Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. You headed up to the loft to relax on your own. You hung out with Cove. We just hung out with Cove.
I guess we should figure out something to do.
You took a seat on the sofa while Cove sat down on the other end, tapping his fingers against his knees. There was an uncomfortable silence for a moment, until Cove started to talk about how he felt about the park. The two of you made light conversation for a while, and it wasn't so bad. You got to share experiences from the day with him too, and he seemed to be happy to hear them. The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV and finding some place to sit down and rest their legs. Elizabeth, having heard the commotion, came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. You spent the evening chattering and playing a few games, enjoying the last evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived within the blink of an eye. As the group hunkered down for the night, your mom did a final round to be sure nothing had been left behind. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning, like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Now was the time to check you and hadn't left anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident you had it all packed up inside the RV, which meant it was time to get some rest before the journey home tomorrow. Your moms and Elizabeth said goodnight, heading to the back room while you climbed up to the loft. Cove and his family got situated below in previously set arrangements. You tried to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your head. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you'd be back in your own bed at home. You enjoyed this mini adventure. You thought the trip had been okay. You felt the trip was a waste of time. You hadn't had it. Oh, it was pretty fun. It was short time, but that was for sure. But you got to see and do so much during your time here. All in all, it was a nice break away from home. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Cliff and Kyra to drift up to you. They were asleep now. You poked your head out from the loft and blinked through the dark. Cove's parents were indeed out. Cove looked to be staring at the ceiling. He slipped back into the loft fully before getting caught. You then went back to try to sleep, then you decided to have fun quietly. You buried yourself under the blanket and pulled out your pencils as silently as possible. While hidden away in your own little spot, you spent, you're not so sure how long, getting some extra time to enjoy yourself. But at some point, your eyes grew heavy and you gently drifted off into a deep sleep. When you woke up the next morning, it was to the rumble of the RV as it traveled the long journey home. Still blinking sleepily, you peeked over the edge of the loft to get a glimpse at what was happening. Cove was sitting with his mom on the couch, the two of them talking quietly. He must have noticed you moving around up there because Cove's ocean blue eyes snapped to yours and he gave you a smile. Oh, morning, bird. Oh.
Good morning, Cove.
Soon your moms and Elizabeth emerged from the room, dressed and ready for the day of travel. You spend most of the day hanging out together in the RV, savoring the last few hours of vacation. Kyra suggested a few different travel games she used to play with Cove when he was younger, and you all had a great time competing against each other. When the RV finally pulled onto your street, it was well into the night, and you were looking forward to crawling onto your bed after the last few days away. Everyone else must have been feeling the same because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV would wait until morning. Once home again, you went straight up to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. You were happy to be in your bed. It was weird to be alone. It felt good to be alone. It felt good to be alone. After 3 days squashed together in the RV like a can of sardines, having your own private space again felt great. But those last words, thoughts drifting through your mind. It wasn't long before you dozed off to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go back as normal. Okay, I will say, I feel like the road trip part was probably, like, the least interaction we got with Cove. Like, I know we interacted with him, but I feel like it was more of, like, just a description instead of, like, dialogue and, like, talking to him. I think that one was my least favorite compared to the others. I really liked dinner, though. Dinner was really good. Okay, so I am at the 3 mark. So I am ending stream here. I'm gonna do family next time, so family next week probably, and then we're probably gonna get to the step 3 part, so I'm going to save here. But that was nice. We got to see more about, like, Cove. I thought we were gonna see more about Derek, but I guess not. Maybe we'll see him in family, but we'll see. Okay. I am going to end stream here now. I'll see you guys another time. Hope you guys have a good night or day wherever you are. Bye.